Good morning,
Right.
Judge.
Good morning, Nadia. Good morning.
Good morning, Judge.
Morning, everyone. Katalia, what's our reset date for today?
It's SAP.
Oh, excuse me. Yep, I'm thinking of the 2 o'clock calendar. Sorry. Muscle memory. Okay. And we have one add-on, correct?
One add-on, we have a non-jail plea calendar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if he'll be, I think he was supposed to report in order to do the plea.
All right. We will begin with the South Annex here, then because courtroom 2 is not ready at the present time. Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Lal, and this is going to be the Fulton State All-Purpose Criminal Calendar. These are cases in which individuals have already been formally accused by the Solicitor General's Office of Fulton County of one or more misdemeanor offenses. Bonds have already been provided for with respect to these charges. And today we are going to address each of these cases on a one-on-one basis to see if they would like to entertain a plea or whether they would like their bond reconsidered or to enter a plea of not guilty and have their case scheduled for trial. If you have been accused of one or more of these misdemeanor offenses, please remember your rights when I address your case. The first one's the right to remain silent. Anything you say about the facts of the case during the course of these proceedings, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. We have counsel either from our public defender's office or from our conflict defense list. Good morning, Deputy Milton. Who do we have in court in South Annex?
Good morning, Your Honor. Good morning, everybody. Before you is position 26, Mims.
All right, thank you. This is State versus Timber Mims, case number 20 CR 0000777F. Ms. Mims has been accused of simple battery and simple assault from a January 13th, 2022 incident. And with regards to this case, Ms. Mims, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Helen. Ms. Helen, I've got an indication that she plans to enter a plea of not guilty and have a peaceful trial. Okay.
Correct, Judge. This is going to be a jail jury arraignment only.
Okay, and do you waive a reading of the accusation?
I do, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Mims, you've been accused of these 2 misdemeanor offenses allegedly occurring on January 13th of 2020 in Fulton County, Georgia. Based on the representation that you have, based on your attorney's announcement, I believe that you plan to enter a not guilty plea. Upon your entry of such a plea, the case will be scheduled for trial before the division judge, at which time the prosecutor would have the sole burden to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. If the prosecutor does prevail and overcomes your legal presumption of innocence, you can be found guilty of one or more of these charges and be sentenced to up to a year in prison and or up to $1,000 fine. Given this information, how do you plead?
Not guilty.
Your case has now been arraigned and it is going to be further notice for trial. This will be a jail jury trial. And anything else to address, Ms. Helen?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, that concludes this case. Thank you.
Next before you is position number 8, Amber Faith.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Finley, good morning.
Good morning, Judge.
All right, have you had a chance to speak to Ms. Faith?
So I have spoke with Miss Faith. So this was going to be a non-negotiated plea with the stay away and no further contact at issue. As of now, so Miss Bickers is her aunt, and that address where the stay away is from is where she's hoping that her and her 2 children can go live. I've been unable to contact Miss Bickers as of now, so I'm kind of torn over whether I should see if she'll call me back within the next little bit or
All right.
yeah.
So the address in question would be the alleged victim's location, correct?
That's correct, Judge. That's
And
her aunt.
present- all right, and presently, she's got to stay away from that location.
That's correct. And she has to stay away from that location and no further contact with her. And that's her aunt, who she's extremely close with. And that location is where she's hoping her and her two children can live. So I'm kind of hoping that I just texted her or I called her again, hoping that I'll hear back, but I haven't heard back as of now.
All right. And Ms. Mitchell, as far as the state's concerned, what's the state's position on the stay away and no contact?
Your Honor, the last time we made contact with her was June of 2021, the last successful contact. And she stated that the defendant has drug and alcohol issues and that she needs to be in a program. She emphasized that she didn't feel like the defendant needed jail, but she does need help. She also stated that she was under the impression that the defendant was going to go and get help on her own. But when she didn't and this happened, she was taken aback by it. To be honest, Your Honor, there's no notes in here from that conversation with her regarding whether she wants the defendant to stay away and wants no contact. So at this point, the state's going to recommend that be in order.
All right. In this particular case, the defendant failed to appear in court on February 24th, 2021. And then she failed to appear again in court on March 16, 2022. And a bench warrant was issued, which is why she is in jail at the present time. I don't have any information from the alleged victim. So unless Mr. Finling, you want to proceed with the case today, it will have to be no further contact and stay away. The address that we have on file for Miss Faith is a Charlestown Drive location. I don't know if that's still a good address for her.
Okay. Could I speak with her very briefly? Yeah.
All right. Miss Deputy Milton, do you have another?
Yes, Your Honor, position 36, 37, 38 is all in one person. Ms. Wilkerson.
All right. I'll take positions 36 to 38. And if Mr. Finling could have a phone number to call the South Annex to speak to his client, Ms. Mims.
And Your Honor, those positions are negotiated, please.
All right, thank you. Okay, we are addressing Miss Shanika Wilkerson case, and she has 3 cases before us. As I understand that she will be entering a plea with regards to these 3 cases. Ms. Wilkerson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, so please do not make any statements about the facts of these cases during the course of these proceedings. Otherwise, your statements could be used against you and also perhaps even possibly cancel the plea. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. Catrice Helen. The 3 cases are as follows. The first is State versus Wilkerson 20 CR 00077B, in which she was accused of criminal trespass from January 1st, 2020. The second is 21 CR 001354B, in which she was accused of theft by shoplifting from March 20th, 2021. And the third case is 19 CR 007352B, in which Ms. Wilkerson was accused again of criminal trespass from August 16, 2019. With regards to all 3 cases, if you plan to enter a plea, may I place you under oath? Do you okay, we need to unmute South Annex first. Deputy Milton, thank you.
Try to contact her.
Ms. Wilkerson, if you do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Other.
All right, thank you. We may mute it while Ms. Mims is in a conversation with her counsel. All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Segura, good morning. What? What is the state's recommendation for all three cases? Or will they be concurrent?
For all three cases, which will be concurrent, it will be 12 months to serve 92 days, credit for time served 46 days, banned, prohibited, and anti-theft calls, 40 hours of community service, a stay away from a BP gas station located at 2261 Cascade Road, Southwest Atlanta, as well as a stay away from the CVS located at 2237 Cascade Road, Southwest Atlanta. Thank you.
Ms. Helen?
Yes, Your Honor, that is our understanding of the plea offers for all three cases. We do accept the offer for all three cases. We do stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID for all three cases, Your Honor. Because it is probation, we are asking that at least 4 months of the probation fees be waived for Ms. Wilkerson to get on her feet and be able to report to probation.
All right. Is the Beecher Circle still a good address for her?
Yes, Your Honor. I also have a good contact number that I'll be providing to probation.
All right, thank you. And I'm sorry, and you stipulate to the factual basis and venue and ID for all three cases, yes?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Shanika Wilkerson, this is going to be a global offer, or what we call a consolidated concurrent offer, which means that you'll be serving one sentence for all three cases. You'll also be required to stay away from the BP and CVS stores that's listed, and you will be on probation to complete all the terms. Is that your understanding of the plea? We need to unmute South Annex, please.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
All right. And Ms. Wilkerson, first of all, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, I haven't.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, I have.
And are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, I am.
And if you decide to take this plea today, this will resolve three cases. You will be placed on probation to complete the conditions of the plea. You would also have to waive your constitutional rights to go back to court and have a trial before a judge or a jury. You would have to give up the right to confront your accuser, to examine witnesses, to present your defenses, challenge the state's evidence, and have the assistance of counsel to defend you in a court of law. And you'll also have to give up the right to have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Was that a yes?
I don't understand what you're saying. I don't understand what you're saying. You're saying that I have to give up my rights?
Yes, you do. If you decide to enter a guilty plea to the charges in these three cases, there will be no future trial. There will be no future hearings with regards to this case. You
Yeah,
would
I'll play guilty.
Well, I'm trying to explain to you the issue that you don't understand. May I proceed?
Yeah, let's see.
If you decide to give up the right to a trial before a judge or a jury, you would also have to give up your rights to have the assistance of counsel so that you can challenge the state's evidence in a court of law, to be able to confront your accusers, examine and cross-examine witnesses, and have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yeah.
Repeat.
Yeah.
Now, how do you plead to the criminal trespass charges?
Go.
I can reset this next week if you,
You can't hear me? I said I played guilty.
and if you can't hear me, I'm like, let me finish a sentence before you say anything. How do you plead to the 2 counts of criminal trespass, one from January 1st, 2020, and one from August 16th, 2019?
Guilty.
How do you plead to the theft by shoplifting charge from March 20th, 2021?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 92 days, credit for time served 46 days. If you have no other cases holding you at the jail, you will be released within 24 hours, and you will have to report to the probation office next week on Tuesday before 3 p.m.
All right.
probation office is located at 132 Mitchell Street in Atlanta, Georgia. You will have to update probation with your current address, phone number, and email. And while you're on probation, you will undertake and complete 1 anti-theft class and 40 hours of voluntary community service. The community service may be done at any nonprofit agency that is not a school and that is not a religious organization. Understood?
Yes.
Your anti-theft class must be completed at your expense and show proof of it to your probation officer. At all times while you are on probation, you are to stay away from the BP gas station at 2261 Cascade Road in Southwest Atlanta, and you're to stay away from the CVS pharmacy located at 2237 Cascade Road in Southwest Atlanta. I will waive your probation fees for the first 4 months, after which, if you've completed all the conditions, your probation will go to non-reporting. If you haven't completed all the conditions, you will continue to report to probation and start paying probation fees after 4 months. That concludes the sentence. Do you have any questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We got number 10, Mr. Ford.
Ms. Helen, when you get a moment, can you call the South Annex, please?
I can.
In Judge Law, we are going to move forward with Miss Faith whenever you.
All right. Let me move to 7 South. And this, I'm going to make a blanket announcement for courtroom 2 as well as 7 South and a refresher for South Annex. Folks, my name is Judge Lal, and I will be addressing each of your cases on a one-on-one basis. This is the state all-purpose calendar where we will be addressing a possible plea that you may want to enter in your case, whether it be not guilty or whether it would be a guilty or no contest plea. We may also consider other matters such as your bond or any other issues that the attorneys may want to raise. Please remember that these are active criminal cases brought against you. You have a right to remain silent about the facts of the case. Anything that you say during the course of this virtual recorded proceeding, your statements will be documented and can be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one of the attorneys from the Public Defender's Office or the Conflict Defenders List will represent you. At 7 South, we have position number 10. This is going to be a negotiated plea. Are you Mr. Armando Ford?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Ford, could you please advise the deputy that the screen has readjusted? They need to adjust it back so that you are on the screen. Just a little lower, please. And the screen needs to be lowered a little bit more. And Mr. Ford needs to move towards his right.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, let's lower the screen just a tad more, please. I can only, okay, perfect. And Mr. Ford, can you lower your mask for just a second?
Yes.
All right, thank you. You may replace it. This is case 22 CR 003999C, State versus Ford, charged with theft of services from June 22nd, 2022. Mr. Ford, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Zach Finling. This is a negotiated plea. May I place you under oath? Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may lower your hand. Ms. Mitchell, what is the plea recommendation for Mr. Ford?
This is gonna be time served plea, 15 days, balance suspended, and a stay away from
Taco Mat?
Yes.
Okay.
Taco Mac restaurant on 933 Peachtree Street, Atlanta. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Finley?
Yes, Judge, that is our understanding of the offer, of which we do agree, and Mr. Ford agrees he has to stay away from that Taco Mac. And we would additionally stipulate the factual basis, ID, and venue.
Thank you. Mr. Ford, have you been consuming any alcohol or medication recently?
No, Your Honor.
And are you satisfied with your attorney representation?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you've understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you decide to enter a guilty plea, you would have to give up your constitutional rights to go back to court to have a trial before a judge or a jury, and also give up your right to confront your accuser, examine witnesses, challenge the state's evidence, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
How do you plead to the one count of theft of services?
Guilty, like, Your Honor.
This is a guilty plea that I'm recording, and your sentence is time served, balances. There's no additional time to be served, but you are not allowed to return to the Taco Mac restaurant at 933 Peachtree Street. If you return to that location, they will have you arrested again for criminal trespass. Thank you.
Yes.
That concludes the case.
Yes, Your Honor.
Next, we have position 20, Mr. Landry.
I will be in courtroom 2 very shortly. I just want to finish up the case I started South Annex. This is Miss Mims. And remind me again, what was that position number? Was it 8?
Oh, yeah, Miss Faith.
Miss Faith, all right.
Yeah, Miss Faith, yes, position 8, Judge.
Excuse me. All
She
right.
does want to move forward with a plea.
All
So
right.
it's gonna be a negotiated plea.
Okay, this is case number 18 CR 0090511Y. This is State versus Amber Lee Faith. Miss Faith has been accused of battery, domestic violence, willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer, and cruelty in the 3rd degree, 2 counts. It's a total of 4 charges. And Miss Faith, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Mr. Zach Finley. This is going to be a negotiated plea, so may I place you under oath? Ms. Faith. Deputy Milton, if we can unmute South Annex, please. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may put your hand down. Ms. Mitchell, what's the recommendation for Ms. Faith?
This is 12 months to serve, 120 days, credit for time served 60 days, balance probated, no further contact with Judy Bickers, a stay away from 4130 Union Road, College Park, FVIP, 40 hours community service, and no alcohol, drugs, and weapons. Thank you.
And Mr. Finley?
Yes, Judge, and that is our understanding of the offer, of which we do agree. And Miss Faith does understand she has to stay away from that Union Road address and the no further contact, and did state that she has an alternative address where she does plan on living at. And we would just ask that once she does complete the family violence and the community service, that she could be a non-reporting judge. And additionally, just the probation fees to be waived if possible.
All right. Ms. Faith, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And has anyone forced you or inducing you to take a plea today?
No, ma'am.
Now, if you do decide to plead guilty to the 4 charges that have been brought against you, you would have to give up your right to go back to court in a court for a trial or a hearing in the future. You would not have a trial before a judge or a jury. You will not be able to have the assistance of counsel to be able to defend yourself in a court of law, to challenge the state's evidence, present any, to be able to confront your accuser and examine witnesses, as well as have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
You are charged with 1 count of battery, domestic violence, 1 count of willful obstruction of an officer, and 2 counts of cruelty in the 3rd degree. How do you plead to these 4 charges?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months. It's going to be concurrent for all charges. In other words, there'll be 1 sentence for all 4 offenses. It's going to be 12 months to serve 120 days, credit for time served 60 days. You won't have any additional time to serve for this particular case. If there are no other cases holding you at the jail, you'll be released and placed on probation. You must report to probation by next Thursday at next Thursday at 132 Mitchell Street in downtown Atlanta. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You will update your address, your phone number, and email with probation. And while you're on probation, you will complete a 6-month domestic violence intervention program. These are weekly classes. The probation officer will assist you with which program you may enroll, and you will be responsible for the cost of these classes. You are also to complete 40 hours of voluntary community service at any nonprofit agency, which is not a religious organization and not a school. You are not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and you're not to possess any weapons or firearms while you're on probation. I will waive all your probation fees. You will report to probation every month. You are to have no further contact with Judy Bickers. You're to stay 200 yards away from her and not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. You're also to stay away from 4130 Union Road in College Park. I will allow you to return to the 4130 Union Road, College Park location one time only with a police officer so that you may retrieve your personal belongings and retrieve your children if you choose to do so. But after that, you're not to return to that location and definitely not have any contact with Ms. Bickers. Do you have any questions about your sentence?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. That concludes this case. All
Your
right.
Honor, position number 12, she was released this morning.
All right. How many more cases do you have at your location?
I'm finished, Your Honor, except for the competency calendar, which I will come back to.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
And Your Honor, I thought we had Miss Mims at South Annex.
Yes.
That's position 26.
Oh, that's what I thought.
And Your Honor, I do have an immediate update. I just spoke to Miss Mims. She would like a 1-week reset to hire private counsel.
Case is reset to,
I have the 14th for next Thursday, Your Honor.
and why am I've just arraigned a case. Why am I resetting it?
I was locked up both times that I failed to appear. I've been locked up the whole time, so I was in I've been in custody the whole time, so I didn't just not come to court. I wasn't able.
Your Honor, Miss Mims wanted the opportunity to let the court know she has a production order that shows that she was incarcerated on that failure to appear. And she wanted to know if this court would have any power to do anything about her being incarcerated on that failure to appear.
In which case?
Both.
In Judge Edie's case?
26, yes, Your Honor.
Is it that on the failure to appear will be before Judge Edie, and she's free to contact and obtain her private attorney, and the counsel can schedule a date with Judge Edie unless he wants SAP to address it.
Understood, Judge. I just want to make sure Ms. Mims understands that. So for that failure to appear, that's going to go before Judge Edie, correct, Judge?
Correct.
And so that's who you'll be before to give the information about that production order. And if you would like private counsel, you can have private counsel for that hearing too.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right,
That concludes Ms. Mims. Thank you. We're moving back to courtroom 2. I have position, I'm sorry, Francois, good morning. Who do we have in courtroom 2?
Good morning, Judge. We have position 20, Mr. Landrum.
20, okay. All right, Mr. Rodney Landrum is case number 22 CR 004027C. Are you Rodney Landrum, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Landrum has been accused of DUI, driving under the influence of drugs, from a June 23rd, 2022 incident. This is going to be a negotiated plea. Mr. Landrum, you've already been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Zach Finley. May I place you under oath, Mr. Landrum? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Mitchell, what's the recommendation for this gentleman?
Yes, it's going to be 12 months to serve, 30 days. Credit for time served, 15 days. Balance probated, a $300 fine, risk reduction, VIP, ADET, 40 hours community service, and no alcohol, drugs, and weapons. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Finley?
Yes, Judge, that is our understanding of the offer, which we do agree. We agree to the obvious no additional days, and Mr. Landrum has agreed to each of the conditions. We would just ask that once he does complete those, if he could be a non-reporting judge. Additionally, he has agreed to the fine, but finances are definitely an issue in his life. So hoping that the probation fees be waived for Mr. Landrum as well.
All right. I'm going to waive probation fees for the first 5 months, but he will continue to report to probation, and he will be subject to random screens. So he needs to make sure that he gets himself in a position where he will continue to report to probation until the conclusion of his term, which will be the next 11 months. Mr. Landrum, do you still want to move forward with the plea?
I do.
All right. And I'm sorry, Mr. Finley, you did stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
Yes, Judge.
All right. Mr. Landrum, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes,
Are you satisfied with your attorney?
I am.
Is anyone forcing you or inducing you to take this plea today?
No.
If you decide to enter a plea of guilty to DUI under the influence of drugs, you would have to waive your constitutional right to go back to court in the future to have a trial before a judge or a jury. You will not be able to confront your accuser, examine witnesses, have the assistance of counsel so that you could challenge the state's evidence, present your own defenses, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
I am.
How do you plead to the 1 count of DUI under the influence of drugs?
Guilty.
The sentence is going to be 12 months, serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days. Unless you have any other holds, you should be released within 24 hours. You will report to probation next Thursday at 132 Mitchell Street. Your probation fees for the first 5 months will be waived, and you will report to probation every month. You will be subject to random screens for illegal drugs and/or alcohol. While you're on probation, you will complete 1 risk reduction program, 1 victim impact panel. You will also have to submit yourself to an alcohol and drug evaluation by 1 qualified healthcare provider. If treatment is warranted, you must submit yourself to that treatment at your expense. You will pay a $300 fine and complete 40 hours of voluntary community service at any nonprofit agency except a school or a religious organization. While you're on probation, you're not to consume any illegal drugs and no alcohol. Your probation will continue, and after 5 months, you will continue to report and start paying probation fees. Do you have any questions about your sentence, sir?
No.
That concludes your case.
Next, we have position 21, Mr. Lester.
That's a negotiated plea, Your Honor.
Thank you. Robert Lester is 22 CR 004-044C. Mr. Lester has been accused of willful obstruction of an officer, burning of woodlands without precaution to prevent escape of fire, and a 2nd count of willful obstruction of an officer. This is from a June 24th, 2022 incident. Mr. Lester, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Catrice Helen. May I place you under oath, please? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Segura, what's the recommendation?
The state's recommendation is 12 months to serve 26 days, credit for time served 13 days, balance probated, 30 hours of community service, and a stay away from 2700 Lakewood Avenue, Atlanta. Thank you.
Right, Ms. Helen?
Yes, Your Honor, that is our understanding of the plea. We stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID, and this is a probated sentence. We are asking for the first 4 months of those probation fees to be waived, as well as when he completes the conditions, if it can be non-reporting.
All right. And By some coincidence, his address is at Leicester Road. Is that still a good address?
No, Your Honor, Mr. Lester is residentially challenged. I have that information included on the probation contact list, and he will have to report.
Okay, thank you. I will waive all probation fees. He will report to probation every month. And while he's on probation, he will make attempts to obtain housing as well and update the court with his phone number, email, and address. Do you understand, Mr. Lester?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do you still want to proceed with the plea?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And are you satisfied with your attorney's services?
Yes, ma'am.
Is anyone forcing you to take a plea today?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood your attorney as well as the nature of these proceedings?
Yes, ma'am.
If you decide to plead guilty to the charges brought against you, you would have to waive and give up your constitutional right to have a trial before a judge or a jury, to have the assistance of counsel so that you could examine witnesses, confront your accuser, challenge the state's evidence, present your defenses, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to 2 counts of willful obstruction of an officer and burning of woodlands without the necessary prevention of fire escape?
Guilty.
Your sentence is going to be 12 months, serve 26 days, credit for time served 13 days. The jail time for this case is concluded, and if you have no other holds, you'll be released within 24 hours. You must report to the probation office located at 132 Mitchell Street next Tuesday. All right, which is July 12th. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Once you've reported to probation, you will continue to report every month. While on probation, you will complete 30 hours of voluntary community service, and you may do this at any nonprofit business that is not a school and that is not a religious organization. At all times, you are to stay 200 feet away, 200 yards away from 2700 Lakewood Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia. Your probation fees are waived, so you must report every month. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next case, position 4.
Is that a 6 cell?
Yes, Judge.
Thank you. We have State versus Calvin Bryant, case number 19 CR 006133F. Mr. Bryant's been accused of forgery in the 4th degree from a May 22nd, 2018 incident. Mr. Bryant, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Mr. Zach Finley. Could you confirm that you are Mr. Calvin Bryant?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, may I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Thank you. Ms. Mitchell, what's the recommendation?
Your Honor, this is going to be a time served plea, 19 days, balance suspended, and a stay away from Regions Bank on 2419 Cheshire Bridge Road, Northeast Atlanta. Thank you.
Mr. Finley, do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
Yes, Judge.
All right. And Mr. Bryant, have you consumed any kind of medication or alcohol recently? You need to unmute.
No, I haven't.
And have you been satisfied with your attorney's representation?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
And have you understood everything so far in this case?
I have.
If you decide to enter a guilty plea to the forgery in the 4th degree, you would have to give up your constitutional right to have a trial, to be able to challenge the state's evidence, confront your accuser, examine witnesses, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, I am.
And how do you plead?
Guilty.
The sentence is time served. There's no additional time in this case. You will stay away from the Regions Bank that is located at 2419 Cheshire Bridge Road in Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you.
Next, we got position 27, Mr. Moore.
And that's a non-negotiated plea, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Are you Tyrese Moore?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Moore, your case number is 20 CR 0006588, in which you were accused of battery domestic violence from March 26, 2018. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Catrice Helen. We're going to address a non-negotiated plea hearing, which means that the prosecutor is going to tell me what is its recommendation and his or her recommendation, as well as the reasons for that recommendation. And then I will hear from your attorney. I will make a decision as to which recommendation I will accept, keeping in mind that I have a right to not accept either recommendation and authorize this case to move forward to trial. So let's hear from Mr. Segura first.
The state's recommendation is 12 months to serve 26 days, credit for time served 13 days, balance probated, 8 weeks of anger management, a stay away from 2129 Martin Luther King Drive, Northwest Atlanta, and no further contact with Andrew Lane. Our recommendations is based on the facts in which at this incident location, the defendant struck Ms. Andrew Lane on his left arm with his belt, which resulted in visible injuries. From the facts, we know that Mr. Lane and the defendant have been living together for 6 months, and this whole argument started over a thermostat. The main reason we have to have the anger management is because this whole incident, which involved police, visible injury, and attack of a belt, all just started because there was an argument over a thermostat and how cold it was at night. Alongside, we don't want to have the NOLO since this is a battery family violence case, and since we're not able to contact Mr. Lane, and we just know at this point it could be still at home, that defendant could return to the location and something else could reignite again. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Helen?
Yes, Your Honor, this is a non-negotiated plea. We are asking for time served, but specifically, we're also asking for balance suspended for several reasons. First reason is that this case is 4 years old. When I spoke to Mr. Moore, he was in California, he was out of state. He no longer lives at the 2129, has not lived there in 4 years. I don't believe Mr. Andrew Lane has either. I believe he moved out sometime after that incident. However, he has had no contact with Mr. Lane. Yes, they were roommates, but for 4 years, he has had no contact. He has been in nowhere near the stay away incident. He's not going back. He doesn't live at that address. I have a permanent address on file, also an up-to-date number, Your Honor. And so Mr. Moore is here for a failure to appear from April 15th, 2022 with Judge Roth. And when I spoke to him, he had no idea that had been scheduled and he missed it. So I made sure I updated the address. There's an apartment number that I have, an apartment 05. So he will receive all notices, but Judge, we're asking for time served, balance suspended for the 11 days that he's done to be time served enough for this battery family violence.
All right, thank you. Good morning, Ms. Harrison. This is Judge Law. How are you?
I'm fine, Judge. I don't have a history on this defendant.
All right, thank you. All right, and the Atlanta address is a good address. Is that correct, Ms. Helen?
Yes, Your Honor. The
Okay.
1240 Oakland Drive, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia.
I'm going to accept a modified recommendation if Mr. Moore would like to move forward. It's going to be 12 months to serve 26 days, credit for time served 13 days, balance probated for him to complete the anger management program, and it will terminate upon the completion of those classes. While he's on probation, he's to have no contact with Andrew Lane and stay away from 2129 Martin Luther King Drive. Mr. Moore, would you like to consider that?
So I'm on probation now?
You're on probation if you decide to take the plea, and you are on probation to complete 8 weeks of anger management classes. And once you complete the classes, your probation will terminate.
Okay, that'll be fine. Will I have to pay the fees?
Hold on, Mr. Moore. I was going to ask the court if
Okay.
those probation, the first 4 months of those probation fees could be waived, Your Honor.
All right, on what grounds?
Sorry, you broke up, Your Honor.
On what grounds is he waiving his probation fees? Is he employed? Is he unemployed? What are we talking about?
Mr. Moore is unemployed due to incarceration. Again, the 11 days that he's been incarcerated, he lost all employment and he's not able to start those first 4 months of those probation fees, Your Honor.
All right. 8 weeks is about 2 months. I will waive probation fees for 3 months. And if he completes the classes, then within the next 3 months, then his probation will terminate. The cost of the classes will be on him. All right. So, Mr. Moore, are we proceeding with this plea or are we going to trial?
Yes, ma'am. We're just gonna go ahead and go on with it.
All right. Ms. Helen, do you stipulate to the venue and ID?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Moore, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No,
And are you satisfied with your attorney's representation?
I'm very satisfied with my attorney.
And have you, has anyone forced you or induced you to take a plea today?
No, nobody has.
If you decide to enter a guilty plea to this charge, you would have to waive your constitutional rights to go back to court and have a trial in front of a judge or jury. You will not be able to confront your accuser, present your defenses, challenge the state's case, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to 1 count of battery, domestic violence from March 26, 2018?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 26 days, credit for time served 13 days. Your jail time in this case is concluded. You will report to probation next Thursday at 132 Mitchell Street and confirm your mailing address, your phone number and email. While you're on probation, you will complete 8 weeks of anger management classes at a program approved by your probation officer, and those classes must be paid for by you. You will stay away from 2129 Martin Luther King Drive in Northwest Atlanta and have no contact with Andrew Lane. Your probation fees shall be waived for the first 3 months. If you complete your classes, your probation will terminate. Thank you.
Next, we have position 7, Mr. Davis.
Are you Nicholas Davis?
Yes, ma'am.
Your case number is 21 CR 003-6448. Mr. Davis is accused of battery, criminal trespass from August 17, 2019. This is position number 7. This is going to be a negotiated plea. Mr. Davis, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Zach Finley. May I place you under oath?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Mitchell, what's the state's recommendation?
Your Honor, this is going to be set 12 months to serve, 24 days, credit for time served 12 days, balance probated. No further contact with Daniel Green. Stay away from the Chevron Food Mart on 2970 Holcomb Bridge Road, Alpharetta. 8-week anger management, 40 hours community service, and no alcohol, drugs, and weapons. Thank you.
Mr. Finley?
Yes, Judge, that was our understanding of the offer. On behalf of Mr. Davis, I did want to point out, and he urged me to point out that he did have a missed court date, but it was due to him being incarcerated in prison. He did have that those papers with him. Additionally, Judge, I'm going to ask that once he completes the anger management and community service, if his balance could be terminated, but if not, non-reporting, because he does plan on enrolling in a Damascus Road rehab program, which is inpatient, and it would be a 2-year inpatient program. So he is hoping to go to that as soon as possible. He does understand these conditions, but hoping they would terminate, but if not inclined, non-reporting, Judge.
Do you have a copy of those paperwork indicating that he was?
He has. So I don't have a copy. He has them with him. He wasn't able to retrieve them when we talked, but he said he would bring them to court. So I know he has them now. I don't have them though, Judge.
Do you have them, sir?
Ma'am, I left them in my cell. I was
Okay.
released from Rogers State Prison on June 26th.
Keep your mask up for me.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you left them in the prison?
No, ma'am, they're in my cell here.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right.
But
When
I
you
do
get
have,
When you
Yeah.
get a chance, you might want to make sure you send it to Mr. Finling at the Public Defender's Office. And Mr. Finling, if you are satisfied, you can attach a copy of it, and I will rescind the arrest warrant that was issued on September 28, 2021.
Okay. I'm gonna put
I mean,
my,
it's already closed by arrest, but at least it'll be on the books as rescinded.
right. I'm gonna put my, my email in the chat if, Officer Norris, if you don't mind giving this to Mr. Davis, please.
All right.
Give what?
Okay, moving on to the plea. Mr. Davis, you've already been sworn. Have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently? Alcohol?
No.
recently?
no,
Are
ma'am.
you- Are you satisfied with the representation of Mr. Finley?
Yes, ma'am.
And is anyone forcing you to take a plea today?
No, ma'am.
If you decide to enter a plea of guilty to the battery and criminal trespass at this Chevron gas station, you would have to give up your constitutional right to ever go back to court and have a trial in front of a judge and jury. You will not be able to have the assistance of counsel so that you could challenge the state's evidence, confront your accuser, examine witnesses, present your own defenses, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to 1 count of battery and 1 count of criminal trespass?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 24 days, credit for time served 12 days. Your jail time in this case is concluded, and you will be placed on probation. You will report to probation next Thursday at 132 Mitchell Street in downtown Atlanta, where you will update them with your current address, your phone number, and email. While you're on probation, you are to stay away from the Chevron food station or food mart at 2970 Holcomb Bridge Road in Alpharetta, Georgia. You have to stay 200 yards away from that location. You will also complete an 8-week anger management program at a school approved by a probation officer. 40 hours of voluntary community service that you may perform at any nonprofit agency that is not a school and not a religious organization. You're not to consume any illegal drugs and no alcohol, and not possess any weapons or any firearms while you're on probation. Your probation fees will be waived for the first 5 months, after which then you will be non-reporting if you've completed all the terms. Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we got number 41, Mr. Wortham.
41, okay. Mr. Kane, good morning, sir. Who's your client?
Yes, nice to see you, Judge.
You too?
Been a while. It's Dantes Griffin. I believe he's number 13 on your calendar.
Okay. I don't know whether he's in courtroom 2, so we will have him brought up as soon as he's available.
Very
Okay.
good. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, courtroom 2, was that 37?
41.
41, sorry.
It's a negotiated plea, Your Honor.
Okay, great. Are you Marquise Wortham?
Yes,
I'm sorry, can we, 6 North, are you Marquise Wortham?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Mr. Wortham, your case number is, we lost his video again. There's something weird going on with the video at 6 North. Well, yeah, just move a little bit to your right. Lovely. 22 CR 004169C. Mr. Wortham, you've been accused of possession and use of false identification documents from a March 7, 2020 incident. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court or during this virtual court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Catrice Helen. This is going to be a negotiated plea. May I place you under oath? Do you solemnly, the other right hand, do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Segura, what's the plea recommendation?
Yes, please, the state's plea is 12 months to serve, credit for time served 667 days. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Helen?
Yes, Your Honor, that is our understanding of that plea. We do stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID.
Thank you. Mr. Wortham, have you consumed any kind of medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood everything that's just transpired so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And has she gone over the waiver of rights with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions about your waiver of rights?
No, ma'am.
How do you plead to one count of possession of a false identification document?
Guilty.
Your sentence is time served. Your jail time, well, is more than adequately completed. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Position 33, Mr. Simpson.
Are you Rayfield Simpson?
Yeah.
And Mr. Simpson, your case number is 22 CR 004-200 J. You've been accused of criminal trespass from July 6, 2021. Mr. Simpson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Ms. Catrice Helen. And this is going to be a negotiated plea, so may I please place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Segura, what's the recommendation for this gentleman?
The state's recommendation is 12 months to serve 26 days, credit for time served 13 days, balance probated, 40 hours of community service, and a stay away from 1040 Huff Road, Northwest Atlanta. Thank you.
Is that a motel of some sort?
It's an apartment complex, I believe, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Helen, do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
I do, Your Honor.
All right. Does he have any belongings that he needs to retrieve from that location?
No, Your Honor, but this is a probated sentence. We are asking for the first 4 months of the probation fees to be waived, Your Honor. And once the conditions are complete, if it can be non-reporting.
I will waive the first 2 months. Does he have any holds?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Simpson, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, Your Honor.
And are you satisfied with your attorney's representation?
Yes.
Is anyone forcing you to take this plea today?
No.
And if you decide to plead guilty to the charge of criminal trespass, not only will you be required to stay away from that location in question, but you will also have to waive and give up your constitutional right to have a trial in this case. You will not be able to be in a court of law to confront your accuser, examine witnesses, have the assistance of counsel to challenge the state's evidence and present your own defenses, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes.
And how do you plead to one count of criminal trespass?
Guilty.
The sentence is 12 months to serve 26 days, credit for time served 13 days. Your jail time is concluded. You will be placed on probation. You will report to probation next Tuesday at 132 Mitchell Street in downtown Atlanta. You will update your contact information with your probation officer. You will also complete 40 hours of voluntary community service at any nonprofit agency which is not a school and not a religious organization. You cannot return to 1040 Huff Road, the entire apartment complex in Northwest Atlanta. If you return to that location, you'll be arrested again for criminal trespass. If you complete your 40 hours of community service, your probation may be non-reporting. Understood?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Position 3, Mr. Banks.
Have a seat, sir. Oh, is the screen frozen? All right. Francois, all right, there we go. Mr. Banks, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, the screen had frozen just now, but I just want to make sure you can hear me. You're Gary Banks, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Your case number is 22 CR 007 3, excuse me, 000 734F. And Mr. Banks, you were accused of criminal trespass from February 14th, 2022. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Zach Finling. Mr. Banks, this is going to be a negotiated plea. May I place you under oath? Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Mitchell, what's the state's recommendation?
This is gonna be a time served plea, 14 days, balance suspended, stay away from the hub at Peachtree Center on 231 Peachtree Street, Northeast Atlanta. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Finley, do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Banks, have you consumed any kind of medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood everything so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you able to understand your attorney, and are you satisfied with his representation?
I am. Yes, ma'am.
And if you decide to plead guilty to this charge of trespass, you would have to give up your constitutional right to go back to court and have a trial in this case. There will be no trial. You will not be able to confront your accuser, to examine witnesses, to have the assistance of counsel so that you could challenge the state's evidence or present your own defenses, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, repeat.
Yes, ma'am. I'm pleading guilty.
All right. You plead guilty to one count of criminal trespass. Your sentence is time served. You are to stay away from this location called The Hub at Peachtree Center on 231 Peachtree Street in Northeast Atlanta. So I gather this is either some kind of store or some kind of food mart. Mr. Finling, is that correct?
Judge, I'm not completely positive exactly what the
Mr. Banks, do you know what The Hub is?
Yes, ma'am. It's a food court.
Oh, all right. Well, unfortunately, you cannot return to the whole food court, all of it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Is that the food court in the basement of the Peachtree Center?
Yes, ma'am.
That whole place, and it's pretty big. You cannot return to that location because you're required to stay 200 yards away. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 9, Mr. Forrest. Come on, Mr. Forrest.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello, sir. Are you Aaron Force?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And your particular case is going to be 21 CR 001-824F. You've been accused of fare evasion and from September 23rd, 2020, and you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Zach Finling. This is going to be a negotiated plea, is that correct?
That's correct, Judge.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Mitchell, is this a time served plea?
Yes, time served, 11 days, balance suspended.
Thank you. And Mr. Finling, we stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID.
Yes, Judge.
Does he have any holds other than this case?
He does not have any holds.
All right. Mr. Force, you've been advised of your have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, Your Honor.
And have you understood everything that's been going on so far?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you're satisfied with your attorney?
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is a fair evasion with regards to MARTA. I don't know if you've got a MARTA suspension because of this. This is something that you're gonna have to check with the MARTA officers at Lindbergh, I don't remember what the address is, Lindbergh Park or something like that. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. If you decide to take this plea of guilty to this charge, it will be on your record, and you would have to give up your rights to challenge this charges in a court of law. Has your attorney gone over the waiver of rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have any questions about those waiver of rights?
No, Your Honor. Not
And how do you plead to this charge?
plead guilty.
Your sentence is time served. As I said, you cannot return to MARTA unless the suspension's lifted. Understood?
Mhm.
All right. Folks, I'm just going to take a 3-minute break, and I'll be with you shortly. Thank you. All right, sorry about that. Okay, we've just concluded with, who are we starting with next?
Position 30, Mr. Roberts.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. That was 3-0, position 30, okay. This is State versus Frank Edward Roberts, case number 09-CR349296. Mr. Roberts is charged with criminal trespass, damage to property, simple battery, family violence, and obstruction of a 911 call. Given the age and given the nature of the charge, those charges are also spelled out according to that era. Okay, this is from a January 1st, 2008 incident. And we are going to address a negotiated plea for this charge. Mr. Roberts, could you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sir. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Catrice Helen. Mr. Segura?
The state's recommendation is 12 months to serve 28 days, credit for time served 14 days, balance suspended. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Helen, do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Roberts, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you been satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And you understand that if you take this plea today, you would be giving up your right to ever go back to court to challenge this charge in a court of law, to
Yes,
be
ma'am.
able to confront your accuser, examine witnesses if they're still around, and also to be able to have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. How do you plead to the charges I've just listed?
Guilty.
Your sentence is time served. If you have no other holds at the jail, you should be released within 24 hours. Best of luck, sir.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Position 1, Mr. Wooten.
Is this the add-on one?
Let me check.
I have a Sean Anderson as,
This is Damian Wooten.
okay, let me get to that. Damien, is this probation?
Oh, that's what it, yeah, that's what it looks like, Judge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Damien Wooten is a probation
Probation
case.
revocation.
All right, thank you.
And I'm gonna need to talk to him, Judge. That wasn't, the calendar was sent out after I left the jail.
No problem. All right, you have the number there, yes?
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Next
come on, Mr. Harrell.
Hold up, we have number 13, Mr. Griffin, Mr. Kane's client.
Thank you, sir. All right, sir, are you Dantes Griffin?
Yes, ma'am. On 5 North.
Yeah. Let me get, okay, I see him. All right. All right, Mr. Griffin, your case number is 22 CR 003537D, in which you were accused of simple battery domestic violence. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Mr. Daniel Kane. Mr. Kane, since this is position 13, how would you like to proceed with regards to this case?
Well, I would like to hear back from the prosecutor. We're chatting, trying to fine tune a recommendation.
Okay. Let me see now. Is it Miss Mitchell? Miss Mitchell, what's the current recommendation for this case?
The current recommendation is 12 months to serve 68 days, credit for time served 34 days, balance probated. No further contact with Michaela, spelled M-I-C-H-E-L-A, Vaughn, spelled V-A-U-G-H-N. A stay away from 2909 Campbellton Road, Southwest Atlanta, FFIP, 40 hours community service, and no alcohol, drugs, and weapons.
All right. Are those the terms which your client understands them to be, or is there more fine tuning required?
More fine tuning is required. What I've recommended, if I may, is Dantes Griffin is in jail right now on a Superior Court case, and we have a bond hearing on the 11th. So what I recommended was he's been in jail 34 days and recommend the same terms with time served for 34 days rather than 68 days.
Well, it would be 68 days, and since he's given 2 for 1, his current stay for 34 days would satisfy the 68 days. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but what doesn't make sense to me is I never know what the sheriff's going to do. So,
oh, okay.
in an abundance of caution, I said 34 days.
Well, semantics, Ms. Mitchell, does the state have any objection to just amending it to serve 34 days credit for time served for 34 days?
That's fine, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Kane?
Yes. May I go into a chat with Mr. Griffin to make sure that he understands?
Okay. I'm not sure who's hosting. Is it Mr. Jordan, Ms. Lewis? If you can,
It is Mr. Jordan, but I can do it. That's 5 North and Mr. Kane.
That would be 5 North and Daniel Kane. Yes, please.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. While we're waiting for that, I can address the case in courtroom 2. Who do we have, please? Courtroom 2, who do we have, please?
Position number 18, Mr. Herrera.
Okay. Are you Mr. Luis Herrera?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Herrera, my name is Judge Law. Your case number is 21 CR 000-753C. You've been accused of battery, domestic violence, simple battery, family violence from February 15th, 2021. Mr. Herrera, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Zach Finling. Oh, is Mr. Finling back from his call? He's still on call. Okay. Do we have, oh, he's back. Okay. All right, Mr. Finling, are we ready to, we are addressing Luis Herrera right now, position number 18. Oh, Mr. Finley, can you hear me, sir? Oh, I don't have any audio on your side.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So I know you were talking to the probationer, but right now we've just moved on to position 18, Luis Herrera. May we proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This is going to be a negotiated plea. And Mr. Herrera, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. May I place you under oath for purposes of the plea? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Mitchell, what's the recommendation?
Your Honor, 12 months to serve 26 days, credit for time served 13 days, balance probated. No further contact with Elizabeth Hernandez. A stay away from 2962 Grand Avenue Southwest Atlanta. FFIP, 40 hours community service, and no alcohol, drugs, and weapons. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Finley?
Yes, Judge. That is our understanding of the offer, of which we do agree. And Mr. Herrera has agreed to the family violence and the community service. We would just ask that he could be a non-reporting status once he does complete those conditions. He obviously has had no contact with Ms. Hernandez and has no interest in having any contact. So that's won't be a problem. So just the non-reporting judge. Thank you.
Ms. Harrison, do you have any priors on Luis Herrera, position 18?
This is the only arrest I'm showing, Judge.
All right, thank you. All right, I'll allow for non-reporting once he's completed all the conditions. Shall we proceed?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Herrera, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with your attorney?
Very satisfied.
All right, and you do understand that you will be on probation to complete certain conditions of your sentence if you accept the plea.
Yes, ma'am.
More importantly, if you decide to plead guilty to these charges, you would have to give up your constitutional right to go back to court, to have a trial in front of a judge or a jury, to be able to confront your accuser, examine witnesses, have the assistance of counsel to challenge the state's evidence, present your defenses, and have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to 1 count of battery, domestic violence, 1 count of simple battery, domestic violence?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 26 days, credit for time served 13 days. You'll be placed on probation. You'll report to probation next Thursday at 132 Mitchell Street in Atlanta, Georgia. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
You will update your probation officer with your address, phone number, and email. You will have no contact with Elizabeth Hernandez. You're to stay 200 yards away from her and not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. You are to also stay away from 2962 Grand Avenue in Southwest Atlanta. Do you have any reason to return?
Yes, ma'am. For now, at the moment, since that incident, she has never returned back to that. That's my mom's house. And she have not returned to the place. And right now, the only way I get hired back in my job, it would be like being around the city, but not around my mom's house. So
You can return to that location 1 time only with a police officer. First of all, to confirm in front of the police officer that Elizabeth Hernandez does not live there. If she does not live there, you may return to that location.
yes,
If she
ma'am.
does live there or she does visit there, you cannot return to that location. Understood?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
can also use that visit to retrieve your personal belongings 1 time only. That visit cannot exceed 2 hours if you are prohibited from going back to that location.
Yes,
While
ma'am.
on probation, you will complete 40 hours of voluntary community service, and that can be done at any nonprofit agency, which is not a school or not a religious organization. And you must also complete a 6-month domestic violence intervention program. That's a 6-month-long program, weekly classes, which you will have to pay for. I will waive your probation fees for the first 5 months. If you have completed all the conditions, then then your probation will be non-reporting.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Yes, one question. When I go back with the officer, should I go to an officer, like call?
Go to the local precinct and if you have your paperwork, show the officer that you've been sentenced and that you can only go back to this location one time only with a police escort. They will know what to do.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are we ready, back ready on 13?
All right. Mr. Kane, or is he back from the Zoom?
Yes.
All right. Okay, sir. What are we doing?
So we're going to maintain a plea of not guilty, put it over to a trial calendar.
Okay. So do you want to file a
And Ms.
waiver of
Williams?
arraignment or do you
All
want
right,
me
ma'am.
to arraign the
All right,
case?
so tell me again, so obviously.
I'm sorry,
we
Zach,
have this-
you're not mute. Thank you. All right. Sorry, Mr. Kane. I'm sorry. I was asking, do you want to file a waiver of arraignment and enter a plea of not guilty, or would you like me to arraign the case?
Well, I would like to waive formal arraignment,
Okay, so
plead
go.
not guilty.
All right. Just for paperwork basis, we require, and because we're doing this via Zoom, if you could submit that, your formal waiver of arraignment. I don't know if one has ever been filed in this case.
There has not.
Okay, could you submit one, please? And
Yes.
then, and you can direct that to Miss Middlebrooks, and she will put her email in the chat to you. Ketalia.middlebrooks@fultoncountyga.gov.
Can you spell the first name, please?
Ketalia dot Middlebrooks, common spelling, at Fulton County GA, and she's got it in the chat too. Thank you.
Very good.
All right.
Yeah, so you said the common spelling, but I put an E on the end of Brooks, so not common to me. So I've got it now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Kane, good to see you. This case
pleasure.
has been arraigned and pursuant to a waiver, and we will have this case further notice for trial.
Thank you very much. May I be excused?
Yes, thank you, sir.
All right, good day. Pleasure.
And next we got 24 and 25, Mr. Meadows.
All right. And Mr. Meadow is at 5 North, yes?
Yes.
Okay. All right. This is 2 cases involving Michael Meadows. Is that you, sir?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Meadows, your case numbers are 22 CR 002-161C, in which you were accused of 2 counts of criminal trespass causing damage to property from April 9th, 2022. Your second case is 22 CR 002-167C, in which you were accused of battery, domestic violence from August 24th, 2021. Mr. Meadows, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say about the facts of the cases, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. Catrice Helen. And these are going to be non-negotiated pleas.
Position 24, Your Honor, is a negotiated plea. Position 25 is non-negotiated.
Well, I'm going to treat both of them as non-negotiated at the same time. So, Mr. Meadows, we're going to first hear from the prosecutor as to what the recommendation is from the state with regards to both cases and the reasons they are making that recommendation. And then I will hear from your attorney. I will let you know what my decision is before we move forward with the plea. Mr. Segura?
For both cases, it will be 12 months to serve 178 days, credit for time served 89 days, balance probated, FF, a stay away from 655 Garibaldi Street, Southwest Atlanta, 356 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, Atlanta, as well in regards to the second case, a stay away from 1991 Below the Street, Southwest Atlanta. No further contact with Jason Collette, Jason common spelling, Colette spelled Colette, April Hill common spelling, and no further contact with Mount Asia Foster. Mount Asia spelled Mountasia Foster common spelling. In regards to for the first case, it was negotiated. But in regards to the second case for battery family violence, it was negotiated, and our reasoning for having the bans prohibited in FREP and having not a Lolo is basically mainly because there is a battery family violence case in which Miss Asia Foster, an instant location of 1991 Delo Scene Street, Southwest Atlanta. She called the police saying she was physically abused. At that point, she said that defendant started to attack her by punching her multiple times until she fell onto the ground. At that point, she also stated she was punched where she was on the ground, in which the defendant kicked and punched her and then spit on her. At that point, when the time was going on, he decided to run away by going into his vehicle and driving off. And when police came, noticed a gash on her head as well as scratches on her face, which he stated came from the defendant. We denying the no is basically because it's a family violence case, and based on the contact with Ms. Foster, she stated that she feels like the defendant is not a bad person, and that she basically she wants to have some kind of contact with him. But considering that this most likely kind of invites the defendant to come back at a later time in which there was physical violence, in call again, there'll be physical violence again. So we have no intention of having a no on this case. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Harrison, do you have any priors on Michael Meadows?
Yes, Judge. 10 cycles. One second. Last arrest was October of 2016. Possession or transport of firearm by convicted or felon or first offender in Clayton County. No disposition was listed on that arrest. Record does indicate an open probation in Clayton County. I'm sorry, that is the open probation. Case number 16 CR 02890, sentenced September of 2017, 5 years probation. Also, 2 open cases in Fulton County, 22 CP 208189, robbery by force, battery, family violence, possession of firearm by convicted felon. 22 CP 208403, terroristic threats. Nothing further.
All right, thank you. Ms. Helen, what is the defense recommendation for position 25?
Your Honor, Mr. Meadows would like to be able to use his NOLO. I did hear the history. That open cases, those cases are still open, Your Honor. And so for this case, he would like to resolve it, but he wants to be able to use his NOLO, Your Honor.
Understood. I'm going to only accept a plea for the position 25 upon a guilty plea, given the fact he's got an open probation case involving a firearm, and he's got 10 cycles in his history. It's going to have to be a guilty plea. So unless Mr. Meadows would like to have that case arraigned for trial.
Mr. Meadows, would you like to accept the offer as a guilty plea, or would we like to arraign it for a jury trial today?
Guilty plea.
Yes, Your Honor, we're moving forward.
Okay, so I'm going to move forward then. All right. Mr. Meadows, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Meadows, like I said, I'm going to be addressing both these cases, and Ms. Helen, we're going to stipulate the factual basis, venue and ID for position 24 and venue and ID for position 25, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Meadows, have you consumed any kind of medication or alcohol recently?
No.
And have you understood everything that's transpired with both cases so far?
Yes.
And have you understood the statements that your attorney has given you with regards to the explanations?
Yes.
Okay, and are you satisfied with her representation?
Yes, ma'am.
Is anyone forcing you or inducing you to take a plea today?
No.
If you decide to enter a plea of guilty to both these cases, you would have to give up your constitutional rights to have a trial before a judge or a jury, to have the assistance of counsel so that you could challenge the state's evidence, to confront your accuser, to examine witnesses, to present your defenses, and have the state try to prove all these charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to 2 counts of criminal trespass causing damage to property from April 9th, 2022?
Guilty.
How do you plead to battery domestic violence from August 24th, 2021?
Guilty.
Your sentence is going to apply to both cases. It will be a concurrent 1 sentence for both cases. It is 12 months to serve 178 days, credit for time served 89 days. Once you are released from the Fulton County Jail, you have to report to probation within 48 hours to the next business day, beginning Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Once you're on probation, you are to complete a domestic violence intervention program. That's a 6-month-long program, and that would have to be done at your expense. You're also to stay away from 655 Garibaldi Street in Southwest Atlanta, 356 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard in Atlanta, Georgia, and from 1991 Deloe Street in Southwest Atlanta. You also to stay 200 yards away and not have any communication with the following 3 individuals: Jason Collette, April Hill, and Montasia Foster. Your probation fees will be waived for the first 3 months, after which then you will continue to report to probation and start paying probation fees. Do you have any questions, sir?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. That concludes your case.
All right.
Yes, you got 31. Mr. Select. Got 31, Mr. Select.
Matthew, let us do a few more. Y'all did a few already.
We got our last one on fire north.
I guess you won, Deputy Matthew. Okay. 5 North, and we have Mr. Solette. Did you say Saleh?
Which position?
31.
31, right? Okay. Sir, are you Ahmad Saleh?
Yes, ma'am.
You need to speak up, sir. I'm sorry. What was your response?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This is case 22 CR 002569G, position 31 on the calendar. Mr. Saleh has been accused of battery from July 22nd, 2019. Mr. Saleh, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. Catrice Helen. Ms. Helen, this is going to be a jail jury arraignment. Do you waive a reading of the accusation?
I do, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Saleh, I understand that you plan to enter a plea of not guilty and have the case scheduled for trial. Upon your entry of a not guilty plea, the case will be so scheduled. And please understand that at the time of the trial, the state, the prosecutor, has the complete burden to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. If the state does prevail, you could be convicted and face a penalty of up to a year in prison and or up to $1,000 fine. Given this information, how do you plead?
Not guilty.
Your case has been arraigned and it will be scheduled for trial. Anything else, Ms. Helen?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Saleh. That concludes your case.
Next, we have position 32, Mr. Sanders.
Okay. This is State versus Davius Tyrell Sanders. Are you Davius Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Your case number is 22 CR 004-047Y, in which you've been accused of criminal trespass from June 24th, 2022. Mr. Sanders, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be, well, understand that he wants to represent himself. Is that correct? Ms. Helen?
Yes, Your Honor. When I went down and spoke to Mr. Sanders, he advised he did not want the representation of the Public Defender's Office of Fulton County and wanted to move forward in the pro se process.
All right. Mr. Sanders, I understand that you have waived your right to counsel. Please understand that if you decide to give up your right to counsel, you will be representing yourself. You would have to understand how the applicable law applies to the facts of your case and how any particular plea that you enter may apply to your personal situation, to other open cases, to any issues you may have, such as child support, professional licenses, your ability to own or possess a firearm, and so forth. Are you still willing to give up your right to counsel and proceed in a self-represented capacity, or would you like the assistance of counsel who can give you professional and competent advice on your case?
Okay.
I'm sorry, what was your response?
Oh, no counsel. Just represent myself.
All right. Okay. This is State versus Davius Tyrell Sanders. You've been accused of criminal trespass from June 24th, 2022. Mr. Segura, in the event that Mr. Sanders would like to consider a plea, what is the recommendation?
The state's recommendation is 12 months to serve 28 days, credit for time served 14 days, balance suspended, and a stay away from a public supermarket located at 950 West Peachtree Street, Atlanta. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Segura, that is the plea offer from the prosecutor if you decide to plead guilty to the charge of criminal trespass. Otherwise, you have a right to enter a plea of not guilty, and the case will be scheduled for trial. What would you like to do?
Just plead guilty.
I can't hear you, sir.
Just plead guilty.
All right. And if you decide to, in that case, sir, if you please raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide for the purposes of the plea hearing will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
This is the truth. Yes.
You need to speak up, okay?
Yes,
Because-
yes, yes.
Thank you. You can lower your hand. And Mr. Sanders, you've already heard the plea recommendation. In order for me to proceed, and if you want to decide to accept the plea recommendation as is currently listed, you have the option of agreeing to the factual basis of the charge as asserted by the prosecutor, the venue, that is, that the charge occurred in Fulton County, and the ID, that is, that the alleged perpetrator of this charge would be you. Do you so agree and stipulate to these three factors, or do you challenge any of these factors?
I accept.
All right, so you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID as asserted by the prosecutor?
Say it again. Say it one more time.
Do you stipulate and agree to the factual basis of the charge, the venue, Fulton County of the charge, and the ID of the perpetrator, that is you, of the charge, as claimed by the prosecution in this case? Do you agree with those assertions?
Yes.
All right. So in that case, Mr. Sanders, have you consumed any medication or drugs recently?
No, ma'am.
Have you consumed any alcohol?
No.
And have you understood the whole process of a plea so far?
Say it again. Say it one more time.
Have you understood? Have
Yeah,
you
I understand.
understood?
I understand. I'm sorry. I understand.
Is anyone forcing you or inducing you to take a plea today?
No.
You need to repeat.
No.
And Mr. Sanders, if you decide to enter a plea of guilty to criminal trespass, you understand that you would need to stay away from the public supermarket at 950 West Peachtree Street, Atlanta, Georgia. You have to stay 200 yards away from that location. Otherwise, you'll be arrested for trespass. Is that your understanding?
Yes, I understand.
Do you also understand that by taking this plea, that you will not have an opportunity to go back to court and have a trial before a judge or a jury?
Yes,
Do you understand that by taking this plea, you will not be able to have the assistance of counsel to confront your accuser and examine and cross-examine witnesses?
yes,
Do you understand that you will not be able to have the assistance of counsel to challenge the state's evidence and present your own defenses?
yes,
And that you would also have to give up your right to have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt?
yes,
How do you plead to one count of criminal trespass?
guilty.
Your sentence is time served and you have to stay away from the public supermarket located at 950 West Peachtree Street. Thank you.
All right, you're done. Going back to position 1, Mr. Wooten.
Your Honor, I'm gonna need to send the plea paperwork out to the jail.
Yeah.
Who can I send it to?
All right. Francois, if you could put your email or an email that Ms. Middlebrooks can send the plea paperwork to for Mr. Sanders to review and sign off on. Put cross marks where he's required to sign, okay? Thank you.
Okay.
All right, we are addressing the probation revocation matter of State versus Damian Wooten, case number 17 CR 0000358E. Mr. Wooten, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Zach Finling. Ms. Harris, good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor.
All right, may I place you under oath?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Wooten, we are first going to hear from Probation Officer Harris with regards to the reasons why they're seeking to revoke or modify your probation, and then we will hear from your attorney. Yes, Ms. Harris?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Wooten was sentenced to probation on December 4th, 2017 to complete domestic violence classes and to submit a clinical evaluation. He did not complete those classes. He also had a revocation hearing on September the 28th, 2018, and he failed to appear, and that's why a warrant was issued for his arrest. Mr. Wooten has 1 month, 27 days left on his probation, and probation recommendation is to revoke that remaining balance.
Revoke 1 month and 27 days and have him serve the time?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Finley?
Yes, Judge. I did speak with Mr. Wooten about this, and we are asking, obviously, for the balance not to be revoked. Mr. Wooten was originally confused about these conditions that he had to complete. He stated that he did some of the anger management class and some of the domestic violence class, but was confused at some point about the charge got changed to a battery, and he thought that had an impact on whether he had to complete these conditions, is what he stated. Mr. Wooten is living in Killeen, Texas, so he no longer has any connection to Atlanta, Georgia area. He is in his sophomore year at Amarillo College, and he's pursuing his nursing degree. He's already completed part of the CNA certificate, so he's already well on his way to completing that. And he lives with his parents in Killeen, Texas.
All right.
So obviously, I really stressed to him kind of the importance of these conditions that he had to complete. He completely understood, but is kind of in a weird place because his life has moved to Texas and he has no connection to Atlanta anymore. But thank you, Judge.
Thank you. I'm going to accept the state's recommendation, revoke 1 month, 27 days, give him credit for 9 days, and he will complete the rest of the time at the Fulton County Jail. Once he's completed this remaining time, this will close the case and he may return to Texas to complete his nursing degree and move forward. Thank you.
Position 5, Mr. Bullard.
Excuse me, Your Honor, that concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, Ms. Harris, thank you so much. If you could email the paperwork to Ms. Middlebrooks, I'll make sure
Yes,
I get it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
All right, we have State versus Jeremiah Lamont Bullitt. Are you Mr. Bullitt?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, your case number is 22 CR 004019E. And Mr. Bullitt, you were accused of criminal trespass from June 23rd, 2022. You have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Zach Finling. This is going to be a negotiated plea. May I place you under oath, please? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Repeat.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Mitchell, what's the recommendation for Mr. Bullitt?
Your Honor, this is a 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days, balance probated. To stay away from Texaco gas station on 2716 MLK Junior Drive, Southwest Atlanta, 40 hours community service, and no alcohol, drugs, and weapons. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Finley, do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
I do, Judge. Judge, I was just going to ask that once Mr. Bullard does complete that 40 hours community service, as that's the only condition on here, if the balance could be suspended, but if you're not inclined, Your Honor, non-reporting.
Any objection to non-reporting, Ms. Mitchell?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Bullitt, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And is anyone forcing you to take a plea today?
No, ma'am.
If you decide to plead guilty to this charge, you would have to give up your right to go back to court, to have a trial in front of a judge or a jury, to have the assistance of counsel so that you could challenge the state's evidence and present your defenses, examine witnesses and confront your accuser, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am. I plead guilty.
All right, I'll accept your plea of guilty to one count of criminal trespass. Your sentence is going to be time served. Oh, excuse me, sorry, it's not time served. It's 12 months to serve 30 days. Credit for time served 15 days. If you have no other holds, you should be released within 24 hours and you must report to probation by next Tuesday at 132 Mitchell Street at downtown Atlanta. While you're on probation, you are to stay away from the Texaco gas station at 2716 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. Staying away means staying 200 yards away. That's a distance of 2 football fields. So make sure you keep that length away from that gas station. You're also to complete 40 hours of voluntary community service at any nonprofit agency, which is not a school and which is not a religious organization. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. I will waive your probation fees for the first 3 months, after which your probation will be non-reporting. If you return to the Texaco gas station, you will be arrested for trespass. Do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
That concludes your case. Thank you.
Position 19, Kimber.
Are you
Morning,
Mr.
Judge.
Lawrence James Kimber?
That I am.
All right. Mr. Kimber, your case number is 22 CR 000-567H, and you were accused of having a concealed weapon and giving false information to a law enforcement officer from April 4th, 2021.
Judge, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I do need to speak with him briefly again, actually, before.
I thought he was represented by Lawrence Silverman. Is that?
I
what
am
your
here.
name
It's
is?
it's been assigned to me.
Okay, I apologize. Okay.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's all right. Mr. Silverman, do you need time to consult with him? Are we ready to move forward?
No, I do need time to consult with Mr. Kimber. Thank you.
All right. The number there is 404-612.
You can go have a seat at the,
2312.
yeah.
What number?
No, they're gonna call you. They're gonna call you.
All right.
404-612-2312.
Yes.
All right, thank you. I'll take care of it. I'll call him right now.
Thank you, sir. All right, Francois, do you have another case?
Position 1, Mr. Andrews.
All right, I've got him listed as position 2. So is that Mario Antoine Andrews?
Yes, yes, it is.
Are you Mario Andrews, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Mr. Andrews, your case number is 22 CR 0039278, in which you've been accused of battery, domestic violence, and simple battery, domestic violence from June 19th, 2022. In this particular case, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Maureen McLeod. Ms. McLeod, are you available?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good morning, Ms. McLeod.
Good morning, Your Honor.
We have your client, Mr. Mario Andrews, and with regards to this particular case, he has been advised of his right to remain silent. How are we proceeding?
Your Honor, the state has made an offer which my client finds unacceptable. We are asking the court to consider reducing his current bond, Your Honor, which is pretty high, and he's not able to make that bond.
All right. Just give me a moment. This is Mr. Andrews, and his case has not been, okay. And I understand that his case has not been arraigned at the present time. So the state's offers, as far as I can tell, is 12 months to serve, which has been rejected by the defendant. Is your client planning to enter a plea of not guilty and have the case further noticed?
At this time, Your Honor, but I just saw that I have a new message, Your Honor, concerning the case. So could I have a few minutes to consult with the prosecutor and my client?
Okay.
I just saw a new message from the prosecutor in my chat.
Not a problem, not a problem. Let me see. Okay, Ms. McLeod, the phone number at the jail is 404-612-2312.
It's okay, Your Honor. I just see that the terms have not changed. So no, we'll go ahead and enter the plea of not guilty.
Okay, and then
I would ask the court to consider looking at his bond because he's been in jail now since Father's Day.
All right, we will go ahead and arraign the case first. Do you waive a reading of the accusation?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Andrews, if you can unmute courtroom 2. I'm going to arraign your case, which simply means that you will be entering a plea of not guilty to the charges brought against you, and your case will be further noticed for trial. As I've already indicated, in this particular case, you are accused of battery, domestic violence, and simple battery, domestic violence from June 19th, 2022.
Yeah, what is the state recommendation? What are you offering?
The state's recommendation is 12 months to serve. To serve jail for 12 months.
Oh, no, ma'am. Not guilty, ma'am. No, ma'am.
All right. So if you plan to enter a not guilty plea to the charges asserted against you, please remember, first of all, that you are presumed innocent, legally presumed innocent of the charges until the case goes to trial, where the state has the complete burden to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. If the state does prevail, you could be convicted of one or more of these charges and face a penalty of up to a year in prison and or up to $1,000 fine for each convicted offense. Given this information, what plea are you entering?
Not guilty.
All right, your case has been arraigned and it's further notice for trial. On June 24th, Judge Melanie Williams issued a bond of $15,000 good bond with regards to both cases, and with a stay away and no further contact and allowing a one-time escort. Okay, and so I was not the judge who issued the bond, so first I'm going to hear from pretrial. Ms. Harrison, do you have the GCIC on Mr. Andrews?
Yes, Judge. 33 cycles with history in Georgia and North Carolina. Last arrest was February of this year, driving while license suspended or revoked in DeKalb County. No disposition listed on that arrest. Record does indicate an open case pending for battery, family violence, 2 counts, criminal trespass, violence, family violence, 20 CP 193802. Additional open case for, one moment, battery, family violence, second or subsequent, simple battery, family violence and cruelty to the children, 20 CP 191092.
Repeat that number again, please. 19.
20 CP 191092.
All right, thank you. Anything else?
No, Judge.
Thank you. All right, Ms. McLeod, what are you seeking?
We're seeking a bond of no more than $5,000, Your Honor. My client is just not in a position to pay for a $15,000 bond. So essentially, he's going to be in jail for the next foreseeable 2 or 3 months if he doesn't take a plea. And I don't believe that he should be placed in that position. This is a misdemeanor we're talking about. There were no aggravating circumstances that I'm aware of, Your Honor, and I think that that bond is excessive.
All right. Ms. Mitchell?
Yes, Your Honor, in this case, the defendant battered Miss Santressa, spelled Santressa, elder, and her daughter, Miss Shantarian, spelled Shanterian, Cosby, by slapping both women in the face, leaving Miss Elder's face with visible marks. The defendant allegedly was upset about Miss Elder being touchy with another man at a pool party, so he went back to the residence to retrieve his belongings. And during that time, he slapped both Miss Cosby and then Miss Elder. Miss Cosby, the daughter, grabbed a knife and chased him to the residence at 1471 Nash Road, Atlanta. And once the defendant was surrounded, Miss Elder got the owner of the residence to call the police. Your Honor, the defendant has several open felony battery family violence cases. Although the victim is not the same, it is a different woman, Miss Tina Benton. Well, I'll start with the one in March of 2020. That's the battery, family violence, and cruelty to children. The defendant battered another woman by pushing her on the bed and held her down. He was given a $2,000 surety at that time, and he was able to make it. On June 6th of 2020, there was a battery. This one is not a family violence, but he was given a $15,000 surety and was able to make it at that time. And then in September of 2020, that's the battery, family violence, and criminal trespass family violence case. He was given a $7,000 surety, and at that time he battered Miss Benton by striking her, causing marks and scratches on her face, and used his fist to bust all the TVs. And again, this was another woman that he had lived with and dated for 7 years. The defendant also, in his 33 cycles, has battery, simple battery, family violence conviction. I believe it was simple battery. That was 2005, and then a simple assault. So he does have a history. We also have concerns. He's a flight risk. He does have 4 FTAs in his cycles. So based on that, we're going to recommend that this surety bond remain the same. Thank you.
All right, Ms. McLeod, you have the final word.
Your Honor, while we acknowledge that there have been previous episodes, Your Honor, I don't think that his record is concerning violence is excessive the way the prosecution states. And this incident, Your Honor, he denies that it went down the way the prosecutor said it did. In fact, he says that he was more the victim in that case. That's my recollection of what he stated the facts to be. He was attacked by the daughter. That is my recollection, Your Honor. And I think essentially keeping his bond the same is punishing him because we're talking about a misdemeanor, simple battery case, family violence. And many times people even get signature bonds for these kinds of offenses. And I understand that he does have a history, Your Honor, but I don't think his history is excessive in that department. So I think that the court should consider reducing his bond as we are requesting.
All right, thank you. The parameters to consider bond reduction are set forth by State versus Ayala. We look at the individual's ability to afford a bond, but we also look at the individual's criminal record history. We look to see whether the individual poses an imminent threat to the alleged victims or to himself. And we also look at the likelihood of the individual possibly re-offending while they're out on a release bond. And given all these factors to be taken into consideration, I find that Mr. Andrews' bond established in June of 2022 complies with all the Ayala factors. In the year of 2020 alone, he has racked up more than 3 arrests, all involving battery. 2020 alone. And I'm not even considering his prior history of 33 arrest cycles. And then, and this incident occurred after he made a bond of $24,000, was out on a release bond, and now he's been arrested in June of 2022 for 2 counts of, 1 count of battery and 1 count of simple battery domestic violence. It's not the question of we don't just look at the one factor of being able to afford a bond. We have to look at all these factors and then make a judicially discrete decision as to what is an appropriate bond for this particular individual, given all these factors. And given all these factors, the mere fact that he cannot afford the $15,000 bond in and of itself doesn't disqualify the judge from imposing a $15,000 bond. Request for bond modifications denied.
Thank you.
All right, this case is further notice for trial, and it will be addressed by
they're on you,
the
right?
judge.
They're on you, yeah?
All right, next we got number 28.
Hold on, we almost there. I gotta make a quick announcement, Matthews. For position 32, Judge, he refused to sign his paperwork.
What you mean?
No, I'm not talking about you. Have a seat. Position 32, Mr. Tyrell Sanders, he refused to sign his paperwork.
Okay, then his plea is not moving forward, and we can reset his case.
Okay, you heard that? That's it. You're done. They're gonna reset your case.
All right, the plea entertained in Davius Sanders is vacated, and we will reset his case to next week, which is
What else is time? Because I'm not big.
July what?
Yeah, I'm gonna fight this too. I'm not like an underdog.
The 14th, Judge?
July 14th, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, my business before the court today is concluded. May I be excused?
Yes, Ms. McLeod, you have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, you too.
All right, did you have another case, Francois, besides
He's
Mr.
talking to his
Sanders?
attorney, that's position 19, Mr. Kimber. He's the only one left, but he's talking to his attorney.
Okay, all right. Mr. Finling, was that your case?
No, I was just gonna say that I also have a,
So they're asking if we're ready.
I was gonna also say Mr. Harris,
3 more minutes.
who's position 14 through 17.
Yeah. Are we ready to move forward with Mr. Harris?
I am. I'm not sure where he is. I did speak with him yesterday.
All right. Francois, do we know where Roderick Harris is?
He should be on the floor with Officer Matthew.
Okay.
Mr. Kimber is the only position I have left.
All right. So Kimber is talking to Mr. Silverman. We'll get back to him. And so I'm going to 4 North. And 4 North, Officer Matthew, who do you have?
Ms. 28, Mr. Mullins.
Okay, thank you, sir. This is State versus Willie Mullins, 22 CR 004-004A. Mr. Mullins was accused of the misdemeanor offense of public drunk and criminal trespass from June 22nd, 2022. Mr. Mullins, you've been, please remember you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say about the facts of your case, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. Catrice Helen. This is position 28, so this is going to be a negotiated plea. For purposes of the plea, may I place you under oath, Mr. Mullins? Mr. Mullins, may I place you under oath? The other hand? The other right hand? Thank you. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge? Speak up.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Mr. Segura, what's the bond recommendation for, excuse me, the plea recommendation for position 28?
The recommended plea is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days, balance suspended, a stay away from the 5 Points Motor Station located at 30 Alabama Street, Southwest Atlanta, and will be taken off that 30 hours community service condition.
Thank you. Ms. Helen, do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
I do, Judge.
And is your client currently under a MARTA suspension?
I do not know, Your Honor, if he has a current MARTA suspension.
All right, thank you. All right, so Matthew, if you could unmute, please. Mr. Mullins, have you consumed any alcohol and medication recently?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. And Mr. Mullins, have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Greenhouse, can you hear him? Okay, let us know if you can't. Okay, thank you. All right, and Mr. Mullins, if you decide to plead guilty to the 2 charges today, you would have to give up your constitutional rights to go back to court to have a trial in this case, to confront your accuser and examine witnesses, to have the assistance of counsel to challenge the state's evidence and present your own defenses, and have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to 1 count of public drunk and criminal trespass?
Yes.
Repeat.
Yes.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days. The remainder of the time will be suspended. If you have no other holds at the jail, you'll be released within 24 hours, but you cannot return to the MARTA 5 Points station. You might want to contact the MARTA headquarters office in Lindbergh Plaza to see if they have any suspensions against you and when do they expire. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
All right, next we got 29.
Hold on, Matthews, I want to do my last case. We're going to do position 19, Mr. Kimber.
So we're gonna do number 29, so I go to 4 South.
Oh my God.
Mr. Pierce, come on.
Judge Law, we finna do our last case. Thank you.
All right. Let Officer Matthew go because he needs to go somewhere else. Okay. Thank you. Officer Matthew, who do you have? 29. Shaman Pierce, yes?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Shaman Pierce is going to be 22 CR 004-005H, accused of fare evasion, criminal trespass, and obstruction of an officer. Officer Matthew, adjust the camera or the laptop. I only see the corner of, no, I only see the corner. Okay, yep, and then lower it. Yeah, you have to lower the screen and then move it to your left or his left. Perfect. Okay. Are you Shaman Pierce?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Pierce, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. Catrice Helen. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you provide for this plea will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Segura, what is the plea recommendation for Mr. Pierce? He's charged with fare evasion, criminal trespass, and obstruction of an officer.
The state's recommended plea is 12 months to serve 32 days, credit for time served 16 days, balance probated, 30 hours of community service, and stay away from the Garnet Motor Station located at 235 Peachtree Street, Southwest Atlanta. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Helen?
Yes, Your Honor, that is our understanding of the plea of this time served deal with the year of probation. Since it's probated, we're asking for the first 4 months of the probation fees to be waived. Mr. Pierce is not working and does not have income. And we would ask that once he completes the conditions, if it can be non-reporting.
I'm going to waive his probation fees for the first 2 months, and he will need to complete the 30 hours within those 2 months. And he's also need to check with MARTA to see whether he's got any suspensions in place or whether they have expired. Do you still want to proceed with the plea, Mr. Pierce?
Am I going home?
You will be released within 24 hours, but you must report to probation next week, and you'll be on probation to complete certain conditions.
Yes, ma'am. I'll take the plea.
And where is home?
I'll stay on 275 Prior Street.
275 Prior Street?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that 30303?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Mr. Pierce, have you consumed any medication or alcohol?
No, ma'am.
And are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
If you decide to take this plea, you would have to give up your constitutional rights to have a trial, to go back to court, to confront your accuser, examine witnesses, challenge the state's case, present your own defenses, and have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am. Can I just hear the plea one more time if I can?
The plea is 12 months to serve 32 days, credit for time served 16 days. You will be on probation. The first 2 months of your probation fees will be waived. While on probation, you will complete 30 hours of voluntary community service at any nonprofit agency which is not a school and which is not a church. And you are to stay away from MARTA in accordance with any suspensions that they have, and you're to stay away from the Garnet MARTA Station.
Sounds great. I'll take it.
All right. So as I was saying, do you give up your right to have the state try to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
How do you plead to 1 count of fair evasion, criminal trespass, and obstruction of an officer?
Yes, ma'am, plead guilty.
All right. I've already indicated your sentence. You will complete 30 hours of voluntary community service at any nonprofit agency that's not a school or not a religious organization. You will report to MARTA next Tuesday. Excuse me, not MARTA. You'll report to the probation office next Tuesday before 5 o'clock, and you will update them with your current address, phone number, and email, and your probation fees will be waived for the first 2 months. You will go non-reporting when you have completed all your conditions. Any questions?
Yes, ma'am. Do you see any other thing that's holding me here other than that?
Position 29.
Ma'am?
I'm looking, sir. There is a case, I think you entered a plea in that. There's another case, theft by taking. It looks like you took a plea in that in February of 2022, and there appears to be a fugitive hold.
Dang.
So yes, there is a fugitive hold holding you in case. There's a no bond in that fugitive hold. Yeah.
What county is that fugitive hold from, Judge?
Department of Parole and Corrections.
Oh, so I got a probation hold.
It's a prison hold.
A prison hold.
Department of Probation, Parole, and Pardon Services, South Carolina Department of Probation.
Oh, I'm straight. You said South Carolina?
That's what I've got right now.
I already settled that.
Okay, if that's already resolved, then that should not hold you. But this was from January 28th, 2022. Oh, hang on, I have something from February 24th, 2022. It looks like that fugitive hold is still holding him, Miss Helen, so you might want to check into that.
Understood, Judge.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Position 19, Mr. Kimber.
All right, thank you, Francois. All right, we are addressing State versus Lawrence Kimber. That case was already announced. He's been advised of his rights and he was in conference with his attorney, Mr. Lawrence Silverman. Mr. Silverman, how would you like to proceed?
Your Honor, I've communicated with Mr. Kimber. I've also communicated with the state, and Mr. Kimber would like to plead guilty to the charge of carrying a concealed weapon.
All right, I'm assuming there's a plea recommendation. So is it a negotiated plea?
Yes,
All
that's
right.
the recommend. He's accepting the recommendation.
All right. So Mr. Kimber, please raise your right hand for purposes of the plea. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
I swear.
Thank you. You may put your hand down.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Mitchell, what's the state's recommendation?
12 months to serve, Your Honor.
12 months to serve. Okay. Any credit for time served?
Yeah. Let me check on that.
I have 15 days, so I'm not sure.
That's also what I have is 15 days.
All right. Okay. And Mr. Silverman? Do you stipulate to the factual basis,
We
venue,
do.
and ID in this case?
We do ID, facts, and venue.
All right, thank you. Mr. Kimber, have you consumed any medication or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the proceedings so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Has your attorney gone over the terms of the plea and the time that you would have to be in jail, as well as your waiver of rights?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you understand that if you decide to plead guilty to these charges, that you would have to give up your right to ever go back to a court of law, to have a trial, to confront your accuser and examine witnesses, challenge the state's evidence, present your defenses, and have a trial in which the state would have to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt? Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is anyone forcing you or inducing you to take a plea?
No, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with the representation you've received?
Perfectly.
And how do you plead to one count of giving false information to an officer and one count of carrying a concealed weapon?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve, in which you'll be given credit for 15 days.
Your Honor, can I interject for a second? Because I think there's a question as to the time served. According to the calendar, he's been in since, it was 15 days as of July 1st. So he'd be another 21 days. Well, yeah, 21 days at this point.
Any objection, Ms. Mitchell?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Sentence is 12 months to serve, credit for time served, 21 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
All right.
That's all I have. May be excused.
Yes, Mr. Silverman,
Thank you.
All right, Francois, do you have another case, please? Francois, we good?
Yes, we're completed here in courtroom 2, Judge.
All right, thank you. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you. See you at 2, Judge.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Okay.
Okay, we've done a reprobation case. We've addressed the SAP and the add-on matter. Do we have a non-jail plea for a Jarvis Pate?
Judge,
All right, Mr. Pate, is your car stationary?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and let me see, who represents Mr. Pate?
I don't have no attorney, Your Honor.
And have you reviewed the paperwork and signed off on it and sent it back to the court?
So I interjected, maybe it was a miscommunication. I thought Mr. Pate was coming into the courtroom today, but I guess not.
All right. Mr. Pate, we're going to reset your hearing to next week, where you need to be in the courtroom in person to review the paperwork, sign off on your waiver of rights.
So I can come in before the end of court today and sign them?
This was your time.
I'm sorry, okay.
So it will be next week. It will be July 14th at 9 a.m. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
It's going to be at 160 Prior Street.
Okay.
All right.
And that's courtroom G33, correct, Your Honor?
Courtroom G33. I don't know if we'll be able to get a notice to you in time. So Mr. Pate, you might want to write that down. Put aside your fork and spoon and pick up a pen.
You cracking jokes?
Are you ready to write down the address?
No, I know the address.
All right, as long as you know it. 9 a.m. next Thursday. Thank you. All right.
Your Honor, I just want to make sure I got this. Did we cover positions 22, 39, and 40?
Oh, I'm going to go over it right now. So
Understood.
on the add-on calendar, first of all, the plea hearing scheduled for 11th is going to be rescheduled to 9 o'clock in the morning, July 14th in person. Okay. And the probation calendar, we revoked the 1 month, 27 days, giving him credit for time served. On the add-on calendar, Robert Ward, that was a plea. Is that correct? No,
No, Your Honor, that was.
I don't have that we've handled the add-on calendar yet, Judge.
Okay.
And I apologize, Judge. Mr. Ward is part of the add-on calendar, and Mr. Ward's positions 34 and 35, which have been reset to hire private counsel.
Okay. So do we have a reset date? Or is that further notice? 34 and 35.
It was reset to July 21st, so the add-on case will be reset to July 21st as well?
Yes. All right, so we've got the add-on case addressed. So the only other matter I've got is my competency calendar, which I will address very shortly. Just to go down the main SAP calendar, position 1 I have is Sean Anderson, and that's reset to July 14th. Position 2 was arraigned and further notice for trial. Position 3, Gary Banks. What are we doing?
That was a plea.
That was a plea.
Oh, I didn't write it down, sorry. Position 4, Calvin Bryant was a plea. Position 5, Bullock was a plea. Position 6, Crane. Is it still loaned out to Grady? Is he still loaned out to Grady?
Judge, that's what the jail told me yesterday when I tried to see him.
Okay, reset July 14th.
Okay.
Position 7 was a plea. 8, Faith was a plea. 9, Aaron Force was a plea. Position 10, Ford was a plea. 11, Goodrum is.
Judge, that's going to be a waiver of appearance arraignment for him. I'm going to
Waiver of arraignment?
Or waiver of appearance, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm just going to submit that.
Okay, I'm a little confused. Are you waiving arraignment and having the notice for trial, or are you waiving his appearance? Okay.
Okay, yeah, I apologize.
So please file a waiver of arraignment and make sure it's with Ms. Catalia Middlebrooks before the close of today. Thank you. Position 12, Green was released. Position 13, Mr. Kane, Daniel Kane will be filing a waiver of arraignment and the case will be further noticed for trial. Roderick Harris, position 14, 15, and 16, and 17. What date are we resetting it to?
So yeah, I was prepared. I thought he was going to be brought today. Obviously, he is being held on 4 cases. I mean, if we could have seen him today, but if not, then we could reset him to the next SAP.
Okay, reset to July 14. He's going to enter a not guilty plea. Do y'all want to address bond? Is that why?
Yes, I
Okay.
want to address bond for him.
All right, so this will be for arraignment and bond hearing. This will be positions 14 through 17. Position 18, Herrera, was a plea. 19, Kimber was a plea. 20, Landrum plea. 21, Lester a plea. 22, Ricky Love is.
Judge, I don't believe the jail brought Mr. Love. If my memory is just bad, I don't.
No, he was not brought.
Correct, Judge. I did not believe I saw Mr. Ricky Love or positions 39 and 40. So 2 individuals were not brought.
Okay, Ricky Love is reset July 14th. 23, Candace McCloskey is released. 24 was Meadows, 24 and 25, Meadows. Those were pleas. 26, Mims was arraigned and further notice. This is the one where she wanted a private counsel?
No, Your Honor. We realized that she just wanted to address her bond with another judge, and she's going to be able to do that.
Okay.
So,
For South, who do you have?
Yeah, position number 39 and 40, Mr. Woodard.
Okay, there you go. Just give us a moment, please. Thank you. Position 27, Tyrese Moore was a plea. 28, Mullins was a plea. 29, Pierce plea. 30, Roberts is a plea. 31, Saleh is arraigned and further notice. 32, Sanders was a plea. 33, Simpson was a plea.
Your Honor, 32, that was the plea you had to rescind for
Oh,
Sanders.
that's right. Sorry about that. Yeah. 32, yeah, we're going to rescind that plea and further notice it for July 14. Okay. And 33 was a plea. 34, Robert War. 35, Robert War is reset July 21st. 36, Wilkerson was a plea. 37, same announcement. 38, same announcement. All right, so we have Anthony Woodard, 39 and 40, and 41, Wortham was a plea. All right, so Mr. Anthony Woodard he has 2 cases, 22 CR 004 008F, accused of battery domestic violence from February 27, 2022. And second case is 22 CR 004 009F, accused of misdemeanor possession of marijuana, obstruction of an officer, giving false name, address, or birth date to a law enforcement officer, and failure to have license on person. And this is from a June 22nd, 2022 incident. All right, Mr. Woodard, you've been advised, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. Catrice Helen. Is this going to be a negotiated plea? No, it's not.
No, Your Honor. So for position 39, we're having a bond hearing. For position 40 is just the arraignment only, Your Honor.
All right. So Mr. Woodard, I understand that you'll be entering a not guilty plea to both cases. Do you waive a reading of the accusation in both cases, Ms. Helen?
I do, Judge.
All right. So Mr. Woodard, for the first case charged with battery domestic violence allegedly in Fulton County on February 27th, 2022. And in the second case involving the marijuana possession, obstruction of an officer, giving false information, and failure to have license on person allegedly in Fulton County on June 22nd, 2022. With regards to both cases, upon your entry of a not guilty plea, The cases will be scheduled for trial, at which time the state would have the sole burden to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt and overcome your legal presumption of innocence. If the state does prevail, you could be convicted of one or more of these charges and face a penalty of up to a year in prison and or up to $1,000 fine for each convicted offense. Given this information, how do you plead in both these cases? I'm sorry, sir, you need to speak up. How do you plead to both these cases?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Repeat.
Guilty.
All right. Both these cases have been arraigned for position 39, in which you've got a charge of battery. Your bond was set on June 23rd, 2022, and that is for $3,500 good bond. Moving on to position 39, we will have a bond hearing with regards to those issues. And pull up that bond order. And that total, oh shoot, sorry, I pulled up the wrong one. That bond order was $2,000, and it indicates a signature bond through the jail. So Ms. Helen, did you?
No, Your Honor, the position 40 is not holding him. It's a signature bond. So we
Okay,
only
so
need the
it's-
arraignment.
So it's the battery bond that's holding him. Okay.
Correct, Judge.
All right. What is the reason for the bond modification?
Judge, we're asking for a bond modification. Number one, Mr. Woodard is 26 years old. He is a working father. He was, prior to being incarcerated, he was working with several companies, several moving companies, Martin Movers for several months. Before that, he was with Norris Cleaning for a year. And Your Honor, he's a proud father of 4 girls, to which he was a primary caregiver of. First girl is 10 years old, second 8. Third one is 2 years old and 6 months. So Judge, we are asking first and foremost a signature bond for Mr. Woodard. He is not able to afford the surety bond, which is the reason why he's still incarcerated. Also getting into the Ayala factors. I would ask that pretrial services read his history if possible.
Okay. Ms. Harrison, we are addressing position 39, LaAnthony Woodard.
Yes, 9 cycles. Last arrest was August of 2020 for trafficking methamphetamine, possession of firearm during the commission of a felony, expired or no license plate or decal, driving without a valid license, possession of firearm by convicted felon, possession of marijuana with intent to distribute. That is an open case, 22 SC 182489.
Anything else, Ms. Helen?
Your Honor, what I wanted to say is this is not, he doesn't have a history of a violent offender. This is not a violent offender who doesn't have that history. So getting into the Ayala factors, I do not believe that there will be intimidation of any witness. There is no contact with Ms. Edwards, but again, I do not believe that there'll be any intimidation with Ms. Edwards, intimidation towards or danger to the community. I do not believe Mr. Woodard is a danger to the community. And again, coming to his court dates, I have a good address, I have a good mailing address, a contact number for Mr. Woodard. He would appear to all of his court dates. And again, Your Honor, we are asking for that signature bond. If not, we would ask for that bond to be reduced to $2,500. Again, giving Mr. Woodard an opportunity to bond out, but following the Ayala factors, I do believe that he qualifies for that bond modification, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Segura.
Hello. The state would like to keep the surety bond at $3,500. It's mostly based on the facts as well as with concerns about the safety of Ms. Edwards. This occurred back in February the 27th, 2022 at the defendant's home of 1247 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard, Northwest Atlanta. In this case, Ms. Shakeria Edwards, Shakeria spelled S-H-A-I-K-E-R-R-I-A, Edwards, common spelling, stated that she came to the defendant's home to pick up a gift for the shared child. At that point, Ms. Edwards said she was sitting in the vehicle when the defendant came up to her, demanded she get out of the vehicle. At that point, the defendant was poking her in the face, saying, quote, "Get out the car, bitch." Then at that point, Ms. Edwards said she got out of the vehicle, and that's when the defendant started attacking her. He said that the defendant punched her, hit her in the face. At that point, the defendant's girlfriend, Miss Shawanda Wheat, Shawanda Sharonda Wheat, common spelling, came out to join the defendant in attacking Miss Edwards. In fact, the defendant told Miss Wheat to, quote, "Choke, get that hoe," end quote. At that point, Miss Wheat started attacking Miss Edwards. And at that point is only when the dog party and Miss Woodward jumped in to pick up the physical fight. At that point, both the defendant and Miss Wheat fled in different directions. And when police came to see Miss Edwards, she had scratches to the right side of her face and also noted that her clothes were torn. So we have concerns based on these facts, as well as special concerns, because we spoke to Miss Edwards. She stated that they've been together for 10 years, they share children, that, and she told me to change the story in that she said that it was his girlfriend who ambushed her, and the defendant was not actually trying to hold her at all. But we have concerns about this because at that point, this incident occurred back in February, and June spoke to us recently, so it's enough time that we understand that based on the relationship, she's may minimize what actually happened. But we do know on the date of the incident, she said clearly that the defendant did attack her, and he also got his girlfriend to attack her as well. Alongside, I do have concerns about the defendant could be a flight risk, as he does have an FTA of 2012. He has an outstanding warrant for an FTA back in April the 29th, 2022 from Jonesboro. Alongside, we just have concerns it could be a danger to the community, as he does have an arrest in 2020 for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. So we just know that based on these facts, we are concerned about Ms. Edwards' safety, and because of that, we would like to have the surety bond. Thank you.
All right. Final words, Ms. Helen?
Yes, Judge. Again, when I spoke to Mr. Woodard, this was a possible fight between Ms. Edwards and a current partner of Mr. Woodard. Again, these are allegations, and it's Mr. Woodard's stance. He didn't make any contact with Ms. Edwards, has no contact with her now, hasn't had any since. Does share children, Judge. He is a proud father, is employable, was working, does believe he can get that employment back, Judge. He does not have the history of a violent community, putting the community in danger, or possibly putting, or in the future, Ms. Edwards in danger, because he has no contact with her. We are asking, again, for that signature bond, and if not that signature bond, we are asking for that modification, Judge.
Okay. 2014, 2 counts of entering an automobile. 2016, apparently he was sent back to prison. 2019, another arrest. 2020, 2 arrests. 2 arrests. 2022, another arrest. I'm not sure what it takes to be the pillar of the community, but Mr. Woodard has not demonstrated that. I'm glad that he's a proud father, and I'm glad that he's able to support his children, but not based on this track record. The bond modification is denied. Thank you.
All right, next we have 14 through 17, Mr. Harris.
Okay. Mr. Zach Finling, are you able to address Roderick Harris, please?
Yes, Judge.
All right. Understand that your client would like to enter a not guilty plea to these 4 cases and have the case further notice for trial, correct?
That's correct, Judge.
And we're going to address the bond in some, if not all the cases.
I want to address bond on position 15 and position, so actually it's going to be 15, 16, and 17. Those are all cash. 14 is a surety bond, so I won't address that one.
All right. This is State versus Roderick Harris. Are you Mr. Roderick Harris?
Yes, ma'am.
You have 4 cases presently pending against you. Beginning with position 14, 22 CR 004191E. The charge is battery, domestic violence from June 22nd, 2022. The second case is State versus Roderick Dion Harris, 22 CR 004040E. Charge is simple battery, domestic violence from August 13, 2021. Third case is 22 CR 004041E. The charge is battery, domestic violence from September 20th, 2021. And the fourth case is State versus Roderick Harris, 22 CR 004045E. Charge is simple battery, domestic violence from April 8th, 2022. Mr. Harris, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Mr. Zach Findling. With regards to all these 4 cases and the charges and the dates that I've already mentioned, Mr. Findling, you've waived a reading of the accusation, yes?
Yes, Judge.
All right. Mr. Harris, I understand that you'll be entering a not guilty plea to all the charges in these 4 cases. Upon your entry of a not guilty plea, the cases will be eventually scheduled for trial before the division judge. At the time of the trial, the prosecutor has the complete burden to prove the charges brought against you beyond a reasonable doubt and to overcome your legal presumption of innocence. If the state does prevail, you could be convicted of one or more of these charges and face a penalty of up to a year in prison and or up to $1,000 fine for each convicted offense. Given this information, how do you plead to the charges brought in all 4 cases?
Not guilty.
All right, sir. All 4 cases have been arraigned and further notice for trial. We're going to be addressing your bond that was issued on positions 15, 16, and 17. And Ms. Harrison, if you could give me his GCIC again, please.
14 cycles. Last arrest December of 2020 for battery, family violence in Fulton County. Record indicates an open case, 20 CR 006181E. Also, there is a 2014 felony conviction for aggravated assault. He was under first offenders. It's not indicated if it was sealed. You have a 2012 simple assault that was no pros. Nothing further.
All right, thank you. Mr. Findling, I think I was the one who did the bond orders. All right, what are we considering today?
Yes, Judge. So like I said, I am addressing position 15, 16, and 17. If I show correctly, each of those are a $5,000 cash bond. And Judge, while I certainly understand the history and I certainly understand the severity and the seriousness of these allegations, I am asking for a modification on his behalf. I am asking for each of these cash bonds to be converted to a surety bond. Mr. Harris just has no chance at making this bond. He does have 2 kids with Miss Eureka Robinson, who is the alleged victim. He is very involved in his kids' lives. Leading up to these arrests, he was working at Calivo, which is a food warehouse, and he was doing stocking there. And then when he wasn't working there, he was working a second job doing pressure washing. Now, I obviously did stress to him there's going to be zero communication with her. He does have a place to stay. When he gets out, he's going to stay with his mom, and I do have that address. He does have other family here, so he does have community ties. And he is disputing these charges, Judge. He states that Miss Robinson has used calling the police as a weapon. So she has weaponized calling the police and getting them to come. So once again, Judge, am asking for the surety bond. He did stress, and I did stress to him the importance of being at court. He said that he would and respect the legal process in that way. But just want to give him a fighting chance to be able to make bond, because this bond, I mean, it might as well, be $500,000 because you just can't come close to making it. Thank you, Judge.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm sure you're aware of this case, but I'm going to go through a brief breakdown of each case. It's a lot going on with this defendant. On August 13th of 2021, the defendant battered the mother of his children, as heard by PD Findling, Miss Eureka, spelled Eureka Robinson, by grabbing her by the shirt and slamming her to the ground, ripping her shirt and bra. And then on September of 2021, about roughly a month later, the defendant battered Miss Robinson by punching her in the right eye during a verbal dispute. And then in April of this year, 2022, the defendant battered Miss Robinson by punching her in the face during a verbal dispute. And then in June of this year, the defendant battered Miss Robinson by punching her several times in the face, resulting in deep laceration above her eye. Those are the cases before us. In addition to that, the defendant has an open felony case where on May 8th of 2021, the defendant has the aggravated assault charge for throwing a full glass juice bottle at Miss Robinson, same victim, while she was laying on the ground, causing lacerations and bleeding to her right elbow with glass in her face and mouth. That he was given a $10,000 surety bond. Then the defendant also has the open battery family violence case, as heard from pre-trial. That occurred on December 13th of 2020. The defendant battered Miss Robinson, same victim, by hitting her with a game console, causing lacerations to her leg, right arm, and her neck was also injured during the altercation. In that case, he was also given a $15,000 surety bond. Your Honor, within a 2-year span, he has 6 arrests for battery and assault against the same victim, and over $30,000 in bonds. He's clearly a high risk of reoffense in this case. We are also concerned with witness intimidation being high as well. The state's biggest concern is protecting Ms. Robinson in this case. As she's shown, she's not able to protect herself. The defendant has no regard for court orders, being that he's violated several no contact and stay away conditions. And he doesn't seem concerned with the consequences. He's continued to beat her, and we believe he's going to continue to do so. So with that being said, we're going to request that the cash bonds remain the same. Thank you.
Mr. Findling, do you have any indication that there is any falsity to these reports? That these reports being made by the alleged victim are apparently false?
I mean, I just use the weaponizing because I know that's what he used, and he said that she threatened previously to call the cops numerous times where the cops weren't called and so on.
No, I understand that, but I'm just looking at all the warrants, and there have been allegations of observed injuries to the victim. So I cannot
I do recognize
rule
that.
them out to be an alleged false report. So if the victim has made such a threat to the defendant, I have not seen any evidence of any of these prior cases involving an alleged false report. But the numerosity of these charges clearly show that this defendant is not only an imminent but significant threat to the victim and her family.
Understood.
And I am very, very comfortable in this bond order. And in the event that there's any future modifications, and I would clearly recommend the imposition of an ankle monitoring system. But at the present time, no,
Understood, Judge.
he does not qualify for any modification, not in my book. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you, Judge.
All right, for South, Deputy Matthew, we are done with Mr. Harris's case, which are going to be further notice for trial. That leaves us with our competency calendar. And is that going to be Mr. Walker and Mr. Howard? And
We are still doing Mr. Love?
oh, yes, Mr. Love. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Officer Matthew.
Oh, yeah, I gotta go back to the third floor and get him, so I'll be back on in just a second. Get him and Mr.
So Mr. Love is the only one left?
Yeah, him and Mr. Darrow.
Okay.
They both on the third floor, so I'll be back. Go
All
get down.
right. Miss Helen, were those the cases that were missing from your roster?
Yes, I was missing Mr. Love, position 22.
And who are you missing, Mr. Finley?
I believe I have done all of mine. Yeah, I don't think
Matthew was going to pull two cases. Okay.
yeah, Harris was the last one.
Okay, we said. Okay, I'm going to take that. For Mr. Love, I'm going to remove the reset request. All right, Mr. Howard, Mr. Walker, did you want to go into the breakout right now? Because I'll have to jump out again, or do you want to wait till we're done with these two?
Whatever your pleasure is, Your Honor, the state is okay with it.
Okay, South Annex, did you have another case with us?
I have a question. I only have one person on the composite calendar. Right now I'm interviewing for felony, and I was wondering, do I need Ms. Witherspoon from the composite calendar? She is on the composite calendar, position 15.
All right, Mr. Howard, did you need her for the competency calendar if he's still there? No. Derek Howard, are you your monitor or computer?
I can't speak for Mr. Howard, but I do know that is one of the cases that we both had a concern on. Obviously, we'll address that with the court, but I'm not sure if Mr. Howard actually needed her to appear before the court, but that was one of our.
I'm going to reach out to him right now, just see if he can hop on.
Okay.
Cases that we need further discussion on.
I won't be able to get her right now.
And he may not need her. I just say that out of an abundance of caution.
Okay.
I don't know what to tell you, Deputy Milton. I need to have Mr. Howard let me know.
Okay, I'll be here.
Okay, thank you.
Is that for Miss Witherspoon?
Yes.
Yes.
I've been trying to call. I needed to contact her. This is Kasha, the social worker. I was trying to call over there. I didn't get anybody, but I was instructed to try and touch bases with Miss Witherspoon.
Okay, right now I'm interviewing for felony, and then I'm going to go into felony court. So I was kind of busy this morning.
Yeah.
Okay,
Do you have
we'll
a
try
phone-
and get her next week then.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Kasha.
All right. I don't know where Mr. Howard is, so,
I just tried to reach out to him. He didn't pick up. I just sent him a text.
okay. Mr. Walker, we're gonna be on in recess until Mr. Howard appears or
Okay.
3 South appears, okay?
Okay, I'll be here, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Hello, hello.
Hey, Mr. Howard, how are you?
Good, Judge. Sorry for the delay. I'm
No, that's all right.
multitasking.
So we were trying to get Miss Witherspoon at the South Annex Jail, but I think we're going to have a bit of a problem because South Annex is right now in the middle of felony first appearance.
Okay, okay. So then, Judge, if we could reset her to next week so that we can go out and see her, and then maybe we'll have a report from regional about, because she went evidently on 6/15, but she's back. But we don't have a report from them to find out what happened while she was there. So if we could reset it to next Thursday, we'll.
Okay, so let me just get to that calendar.
And I'll try to reach out to Ms. Kasha before my 5 o'clock court. I have,
That's fine.
between 4 and 5, I'll be able to go and get her, and so Kasha can talk to her.
All right, so position 15 is Witherspoon is reset to July 14 competency calendar, okay?
Yes.
All right. Okay, are we still waiting on 3 South to appear? So if you want to go into a breakout, Ms. Middlebrooks, you can place Mr. Howard, Mr. Walker, Ms. Fulton in, no, not Ms. Fulton, but Ms. Kasha in a breakout room with me.
Judge, is SAP over?
No, it's not. It's
Okay.
not.
Just
We still have 3 South. They got
Okay.
2 more folks out there.
No problem.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Walker, one moment.
All right, thank you.
All right, have we heard from 3 South yet? No?
No, Judge.
All right. Miss Helen, did you hear Officer Matthews say that he was bringing Ricky Love and Daryl Paris?
I didn't hear Paris, but I did hear him say that they had Mr. Love and they were bringing him.
Okay, all right. Okay, we'll just wait till 3 South shows up. Okay.
Judge Laws, Sergeant Johnson said the 2 inmates that you're looking for on 3 North, they just need a little time to get the inmates. They're having elevator problems out of the jail.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. she said they made it, Judge, so they should be here in about 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, officer. Who do we have in medical?
Yeah, number 22. You had a lot of technical difficulties on.
No, we're just glad you're on. Okay. Number 22. Is this Mr. Ricky Love?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Love, I just make sure. Okay. So this is case number 22 CR 004-021J. This is State versus Ricky Love. Mr. Love, my name is Judge Law. We have a criminal misdemeanor case against you with regards to one misdemeanor offense. First of all, you have a right to remain silent about the facts of the case. Any comments you make, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. Catrice Helen. Mr. Love, are you aware of the charge brought against you?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. All right, this is position 22, and Mr. Love will be doing a negotiated plea. Is that correct, Ms. Helen?
Yes, Judge.
All right. Mr. Love, may I place you under oath for purposes of the plea?
Yes,
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Segura, what is the state's recommendation?
The state's recommended plea is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days, balance probated, and MHET, and a stay away from 218 Peachtree Street, Northeast Atlanta. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Helen, do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
I do, Judge. And since this is a probated sentence, I'm asking for the probation, all of the probation fees to be waived. Mr. Love is residentially challenged, and that after the mental health evaluation is done, if it could be non-reporting.
I'm going to have him reporting, and I'll waive all probation fees.
Understood.
All right. And the MHET must be begun. He must at least start the process within 60 days of being released.
Did you understand that, Mr. Love?
Yes, ma'am. Have you released today?
Within 60 days.
No. You would need to you need to go to your doctor and get your evaluation done within 60 days of being released.
Are we released today?
You'll be released within 24 hours if you have no other holds.
Yes, ma'am. And
But
I
you
got
need-
to go to my doctor and get what?
Within 60 days.
All right, I'll be there. Well,
And you
Grady
need to go-
Hospital or Crawford Lawn, which one?
Whichever one your probation officer will accept.
Okay, thank you.
And you need to go to your probation officer next week on Tuesday at 132 Mitchell Street.
Yeah, I know it's that. It's right up there by City Jail, right? Downtown?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So first of all, Mr. Love, have you consumed any medication or alcohol?
No, I don't drink alcohol, no medication, none of that in my blood.
And are you satisfied with your attorney, Ms.
Yes,
Helen?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Have you understood everything that's been going on?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you
No.
decide, no, you don't understand.
Notify that too, all that, they gotta check that too.
Okay. And if you decide to plead guilty to this charge, you would have to give up your right to have your day in court. There will be no trials, no hearings. You will not get a chance to confront your accuser, present your defenses, and have the state try to prove the charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to the charge brought against you?
Yes, yeah.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days. You'll be released within 24 hours, and you must go to see your probation officer next week on Tuesday at 132 Mitchell Street in Atlanta, Georgia.
You released today?
You'll be released within 24 hours.
Okay.
And what, hey,
Oh, where am I? You're right. You're right.
you have to go see your probation officer next Tuesday
I'll be there. I'll be there.
at 132 Mitchell Street.
Yeah, man, I'll be there. I'm on it.
While you're on probation, you must complete a MHET, and your probation officer will explain that to you. And you cannot return to 218 Peachtree Street in Northeast Atlanta, where you were arrested.
Okay.
You cannot return to that location.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Now you're free to go. Thank you. Officer, You had one other person? Do you
Yeah,
have
for the
a,
county calendar, Mr. Darrell.
Mr. Darrell? Okay. All right, Ms. Middlebrooks, if you can place medical, Mr. Howard, Mr. Walker, and Kasha and myself in a breakout, please. The rest of the attorneys, you are free to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
The
Judge.
breakout room should still be up. I just have to add medical to it.
Okay,
Thank you, Judge. Hope everybody has a good weekend.
you too. Thank you.
That's it.
Keisha. Keisha,
I'm here.
can you come into the breakout? I think you were supposed to be in the breakout room as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, you could just go back to that same breakout room.
Can I ask a question, Ms. Middlebrooks? Can you, for some reason, I have stopped getting the link for like today's calendar and like the morning calendar, 9 o'clock calendar. Is there any way that you can put my me back on the email?
Yes, I'll send an email to everybody, tell them to add you to the list.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And
No
I'm
problem.
looking for the breakout room now.
Yeah, and you just join the room 1.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm not seeing it.
If you look on the bottom of your screen, you should see the thing that says breakout rooms. And then if you click on that, it should allow you to join it.
Screen is doing something funky. Hold on 1 second.
Maybe you have to move your mouse down towards the bottom to see it. Are you on a cell phone or a computer?
No, I'm on a our little county issued laptops. It just looks funny. Let me see.
Yeah, so if you go highlight down towards the bottom, there should be an area where it says breakout rooms, I think. And you just click on that and then hit join. Or I can move
With you,
around.
your whole situation, you can move me in if you can, please, because I
Yeah,
don't
give me a
understand what
second
happened.
and I'll figure out how to move you back in there. Move to. Move to 1. Oh. Did you see another pop-up that says move to breakout room 1? Or it just brought you back?